Ultra. So now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Ultra helps Mike fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs so he can wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Sunshine this afternoon, and let's call it a nice 54, above average temperatures for a change. Some clouds around tonight, 35, but all is dry. Wednesday, mostly sunny, 55. Clouds take over Wednesday night. Thursday, clouds with periods of rain, and it's all rain, no ice or snow, but there could be a rumble of thunder, a flash of lightning. Thursday's high, 54. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, good afternoon. Beautiful, beautiful winter day in St. Louis. And I say that sincerely because, you know, we've had some cold weather and had a little snow today. It was very nice. I went out to start my car before I came in. I didn't feel like I needed to start my car. It was sitting outside. It was not in the garage. The sun had warmed it up amply. Is that a word?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
if
I'm
not,
going to go with
I just kind
it.
of made it up. Fred, you look shocked that I said it was nice out there.
No, did you say snow earlier? What did you say?
No, we've had snow in the past weeks.
Oh, right,
Not
right.
today we didn't
Today.
have snow, but
yeah,
we
today's pretty nice.
We're off to a wintry start to winter, even though it's not winter yet, is what I'm trying to say, right? Sue, when do we get to that point? Like, this is
that's a
that
good
point of the
question.
year where the sunset is like...
Oh, the solstice is the 21st.
That's what I mean, right.
Yeah.
But it's like this weird thing, and I've never really been able to explain it. And people have explained it to me, but I'm not ever smart enough to understand it. But there's this period, and I kind of think we're in it right now, where the sunset's like at the same time for a little while. And then we start moving in the other direction.
Yeah, then
right?
we get longer days.
Right, and we're almost at that point, which is kind of nice. We have one more week of this show before we take a little bit of a holiday break. We'll be here Monday and Tuesday next week. I know Sue's going to be here a little bit more during the holidays.
I'm pretty much here, just camping out.
I will not be, but so
well, you deserve time.
I'll be having fun with the yeah, because I mean I was hardly off at all. This
right,
year, right? I only took 3 months off during the summer, so I have it. I definitely have it coming. But we've got a lot to cover today here on the show. You know, this Brown University shooter is still loose, which is pretty crazy to me. They released some video yesterday. We were talking about that. I think there's new video this afternoon. Paul Mauro is all over this, and he's going to join us here in the first segment. Also, on the Rob Reiner front, they're supposed to have an update in Los Angeles here. Like now, we're looking at an image of a podium up on Fox, and if it times out okay, we may go to that. Now, let me get started here with the big political story of the day, and that's the interview that Susie Wiles, the White House Chief of Staff, did with Vanity Fair magazine. And there's a lot of buzz about this. We're going to talk about it with a few of the guests, including Cassie Smedile at the bottom of the hour, and at 5:04, Curtis Houck from Newsbusters. Because the one, let me start by saying this. There were Chris Whipple's the guy who did the story in Vanity Fair. When I talk about media bias, and I have for a long time, and the legacy media, I never only include the Washington Post and the New York Times and, you know, the LA Times and our St. Louis Post-Dispatch. By the way, you missed that basket, Sue.
I thought I hit it.
No, I don't think you did.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Thank you.
I saw it out on my peripheral. She threw a piece of
Weirdo
paper into
thing.
the... Sorry. So, you know, the media bias that I speak of, it doesn't only exist like on CBS, ABC, CNN, and then those major publications. It goes deeper than that. And this is something important to realize for people, because it's not just the major dailies or the big networks. It's also Rolling Stone magazine. It's Saturday Night Live. It's, you know, Vanity Fair. And this piece in Vanity Fair about Susie Wiles, I think, is a hit piece because it leaves a lot of context out. And I'm going to read a little bit of it to you, and I'm going to tell you what Susie said first of all. And she's getting a lot of support from the administration because there's some things that pop out of here that make it seem, because this is what Vanity Fair wants you to think, that there's all kinds of chaos in the administration. In fact, Susie herself says this. The article, a little perspective here. Wait, just because nobody knows who she is. She is a very important person. She's running the show, right? She's the White House Chief of Staff. In different eras, and Fred, you know this, you've been around politics for a long time, even in the first Trump administration, you had people who were more out front. They were doing interviews on the Sunday morning shows. Reince Priebus comes to mind. General Kelly comes to mind. But, you know, it was interesting. With Biden, nobody really knew. Ron Klain, nobody really knew his name, right? And in this situation, I remember, Fred, I think you were watching on the early morning hours on election night, or the day after the election. Trump was giving his victory speech and called Susie Wiles up to the podium, and she was super shy. She does not like being on camera, right? So when I heard about some of this today, my thought was, why are you doing an interview with Vanity Fair? You're setting yourself up for failure, which I think is exactly kind of what happened here. So she said on a post on X, the article published early this morning, and by the way, it's part 1 of 2, so there's another part coming. And I read the whole thing, so we'll reflect on that here in a moment. But she says, the article disingenuously framed hit piece on me and the finest president, White House chief of staff, or White House staff, rather, and cabinet in history. Significant context is always important with journalism, and it's often missing. Significant context was disregarded. Much of what I and others said about the team and the president was left out of the story. I assume after reading it that this was done to paint an overwhelmingly chaotic and negative narrative about the president and our team. Well, yes, of course it is. The truth is the Trump White House has already accomplished more in 11 months than any other president has accomplished in 8 years, and that is due to the unmatched leadership and the vision of President Trump, for whom I've been honored to work for the better part of a decade. None of this will stop our relentless pursuit of making America great again. One of the things that I discovered, and, you know, I don't declare myself an expert on Susie Wiles, but what was interesting is she went to work for Ron DeSantis. Fred, did you know that she worked with Ron DeSantis?
Hey, do you know who her dad is?
Yeah, Pat Summerall.
I love that.
So let me kind of go over this. Susie Summerall is her name, and she got her first taste of politics in the late 1970s. She worked for Jack Kemp. And at the age of 23, she landed a job at the Reagan White House as a scheduler. And she was very close with Jim Baker, who was the chief of staff at the time. He was a big name in politics for decades, of course. She married someone named Lanny Wiles, who was a GOP advance man. And they, I think they might have gotten a divorce. But anyway, in 88, Jim Baker lures her back to work with Dan Quayle, who was eventually the vice president. He was George H.W. Bush's running mate. The couple had 2 daughters, Katie and Carolyn. Wise plunged into state politics over the next 2 decades, became a formidable political strategist, serving as chief of staff to the mayor of Jacksonville, Florida. She ran Rick Scott's campaign for governor. And then it says Wiles went to work. This is the part I didn't know. Wiles went to work in 2018 for an ambitious gubernatorial, I hate that word, gubernatorial, candidate for governor. Let's just say it that way, Ron DeSantis. Trump urged DeSantis, then his protege, to hire her. She led the underdog candidate to victory. But afterward, this is what's kind of weird, DeSantis turned on her, denouncing Wiles publicly and bad-mouthing her privately. To this day, Wiles doesn't know what triggered the governor's vendetta. I think he thought I was getting too much attention, which is ironic. I don't ever seek attention. So part of this piece is, you know, a little bit of a bio and a little background, but then they get into some of the things like USAID and what happened earlier this year. She seemingly criticizes that. She says that J.D. Vance was, a conspiracy theorist for a decade. Now there's context to that. But let's see here. I think we have this event in Los Angeles going on. Let me see if I can get to this.
Parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michelle Singer-Reiner. These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty.
This is Nathan Hockman. He is the district attorney in Los Angeles at a news conference that's taking place right now.
Without bail. Now, before in announcing charges, I also want to announce that they're just that. They are charges. Charges are not evidence. Evidence is something that we will be presenting in a court of law to meet the standard of proof we meet in every criminal case, which is beyond a reasonable doubt, to 12 jurors who you'll unanimously have to find that we've met that standard to prove the charges we bring to court. Right now, with respect to the process, once the charges get filed this afternoon, Nick Reiner will be then brought to court. He is going through medical clearance, something that everybody who gets arrested and gets held in a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department jail goes through. Once he is medically cleared, he will be brought to court to be arraigned on these charges. At that point, he will enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Now, prosecuting these cases involving family members are some of the most challenging and most heart-wrenching cases that this office faces because of the intimate and often brutal nature of the crimes involved. Rob Reiner was a brilliant actor and director, an iconic force in our entertainment industry for decades. His wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, was an equally iconic photographer and producer. Their loss is beyond tragic, and we will commit ourselves to bringing their murderer to justice. I want to thank LAPD Chief McDonald.
I don't think we're going to get a whole lot more out of this, and I don't want to mess up Paul Mauro, who's coming up here in a couple of minutes. I mentioned, Sue, I don't know if you remembered from yesterday. I still think this is crazy, that Michelle Singer is the photographer that took the picture of Trump that's on the cover of The Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
How weird is that? I don't know if he knows that. But that is the latest update. The son was not in court today because they still have to medically clear him. And I don't think, Fred, at this point we found out any new information. There was the story yesterday about the Conan O'Brien party, which seemingly is certainly true. He had some issues there, was seemingly intoxicated, and also had an argument with his father before all this went down on Sunday. But we'll continue to cover that. I'm sure Paul Mauro will have something to say about this, but he's really all over the situation at Brown University, which continues to be a little confusing just because of the lack of video evidence. They have not found the shooter, but they're still looking. Cassie Smedile is going to be here at the bottom of the hour to react to some politics. We'll have Sue and a Tuesday edition of Sue's News in the next hour. Our friend Kenny Wallace. There are a bunch of people on my list that I wanted to make sure we got on one more time before the end of the year. And since it's coming to a close quickly, Kenny was on that list. He'll join us in the next hour.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got a jam. If you are headed into Illinois, 6440 is already lined up. There was a report of an accident midway across the Poplar Street Bridge, and it caused a delay behind it. Westbound 40 already a slow go. Hampton out through McCausland. And 44 westbound, there was an accident west of 141 by a little bit. I mean, it's fairly west of there. And we've got traffic slowing in both directions as a result. And southbound 270, a little moderate volume south of Manchester. It's also a little bit slow at Ladue Road, but 141 is straight out jammed from Ladue Road down through 64. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk. This report brought to you by Aspen Contracting, roofsbyaspen.com. Don't let cracked or missing siding leave your home vulnerable to St. Louis weather. Aspen has the crews and project managers ready to protect your home and restore its beauty. Call them today for a free siding inspection, 636-465-1696. 97.1 FM Talk.
What stresses you out about the holidays? Maybe it's getting that house just perfectly clean. If that's the case, call my friends at Zero Res. Mark Cox here. Is your house ready for the holidays? Well, here's your phone number, 314-474-2020. That gets you to Zero Res. Here's the deal. If you need your season to be jolly and you don't want to stress out and you want to make sure the house is perfectly clean to impress your in-laws and your friends when they come over, just remember, you can Zero Res anything. They can do grout and tile and carpet and air ducts and hardwood. It is for your home and your business. Zero Res can handle it all. They do it with zero residue, no harsh chemicals or cleaners, and your house is beautiful. Go ahead and get it clean. Don't miss out. Call 314-474-2020. Tell them you want the 97.1 special. The spots are filling up fast. Go to ZeroResSTL.com.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code NEXT for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code NEXT for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code NEXT.
Most people spend decades saving for retirement, but few ever learn how to turn those savings into lasting income. And that's where Financial and Tax Architects comes in. They help people across St. Louis work to protect their life savings, minimize taxes, and retire with confidence. Now, they do a Retirement Planning 101 class, and it shows you exactly what others often miss: how to avoid hidden tax traps in your 401k or IRA, and how to make smarter decisions about Social Security. Now, this is a one-night, 2.5-hour, no-cost educational event. Seats fill up fast. And at FTA, they like to say that financial peace of mind in retirement is all about income. Lose the job and keep the paycheck. That's exactly what FTA will help you do. So if you're within 10 years of retirement or already retired, you can't afford to miss it. Call 314-888-5101 or go to fta-ria.com and reserve your seat now.
Reardon's back. Smarter talk for the Show Me State. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Why would you be now looking in the bushes for something on Waterman Street 2 days later after it had snowed?
So I just answered John the same question of how investigations, they turn and lead you in a different direction. We might have used all our energies in the first few days to investigate something, and here we are now heading back to that same place to continue to investigate, and that's why you saw that, because the investigations change on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's the chief police in Providence, Rhode Island. Paul Mauro is with us this afternoon, Fox News contributor, and of course, he's the founder of the opsdesk.org. How are you this afternoon, Paul? Great to have you as usual.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
I heard you earlier. I want you to kind of get in because there's been a lot of criticism of that police chief and the way that this investigation has gone down. Obviously, there's frustration because the shooter is still out there. There are questions, Paul, as you know, about why weren't there more cameras in a certain part of the campus. But you're saying, look, I heard you kind of compare this a little bit to the Kohlberger situation where these investigators are trying to do their job. They may know more behind the scenes than they're letting on to us. So you're kind of defending the police investigation, but you have more questions, if I heard you correctly, about Brown University and their security. Correct, Paul?
That is correct. I go back to Kohlberger just because the audience knows it very well. Everybody in America who's interested in this sort of stuff was paying attention to it. And bottom line is, we heard all the same criticisms of the Kohlberger task force. They're Keystone cops. They don't know what they're doing. The small-town Idaho cops who were never going to get us there. And lo and behold, through really sophisticated and deep dive work in 6 weeks, they rolled that up off of very, very little evidence. Now, at the time, I was, once again, one of the few voices in the wilderness just saying, give them some time. Some of the electronic stuff takes some time. Got to go through a lot of data. And, if it's not one of these first 48-hour situations where, okay, the husband's dead, look for the wife, or the wife is dead, look for the husband, look for the girlfriend, that kind of thing, then you got to do this deep dive stuff. And then the other thing is this. The idea that they chased down a lead that ended up not panning out is by no means indicative of a slipshod investigation. It looked quite good. I get why they chased it. They got a tip. The guy was dressed in all black. The hotel apparently called it in and said something about him looking a little bit skittish, all in black, right age, right body type. They went there in the middle of the night, knocked on the door. The guy says, hey, I've been here all night, but yeah, you can talk to me, come in. They find 2 guns. Now it starts to look very good.
Right.
And then it turns out he hadn't left the room. The guns didn't come back to the shooting when they did the ballistics. and the guy had never left the room.
Yeah, you could tell from the hotel key, right, Lowe's? So the hotel knew when he was exiting, unless he climbed out a window or something like that, but he was in that room, and that was his alibi, and the ballistics didn't match up. Right. So that makes...
Exactly. And so they did the video in the hotel also, and neither one of those things, both of them determined that he'd never left the room, and so he's got an alibi. You wash him out and go on to plan B, but that's how police work goes.
And then the other point I thought you made that was interesting, sometimes we don't think about these things, but why does it take so long for some of the video to be gathered? Well, in some of these situations, these were Ring cameras from very nice homes. The homeowners might not have even been there, right? They could have been in Florida or something like that, so they have to take a little time to see if they can get cooperation and get the video.
Precisely. It's apparently a wealthy area on the edge of Brown University where this building that the shooting occurred in is on the edge of the campus, and it's marbled into, Brown's one of those schools like NYU where the buildings for the school are sort of marbled into the community and spread out. This is on the edge of that, and it's an affluent neighborhood. So when it came time for them to look for cameras, Brown, which is, to my mind, a little bit inexcusable, didn't have good video in terms of ingress or egress to that building. That's a different issue, and that's something I don't think has been talked about enough.
Yeah.
But when it came time for them to find good video, they ended up having to rely on the residential areas of that city, and a lot of those nearby buildings that he walked in that we've now all seen are very wealthy homes. You can even see in the video that they're gated homes with a big, long driveway and all that. Well, you got to be able to get in those houses. You can't climb in the window. And a lot of them are not there. And that's why it took until Monday when people came back to them to get even the video that they got. I'm hearing that they're making very fast progress. There could be something soon, but let's say they don't. I could see more and better video coming out as people are advised. They get a hold of people. Oh, where are you? Well, we're in the Caribbean or whatever. Listen, we got to get access to your Ring camera. Can you come back, or can you get somebody to open the door for us and let us get access to your camera? Or they go to the Ring company, and at that point you very well you're going to need either permission from the homeowner or you're going to need a search warrant. These things take time, but who knows? If they don't get them today or tomorrow or something quite soon, we may get more and better video, but as I said, it takes time.
Yeah, because when you usually have a pretty good gut check on this, isn't it typical that, the shooters, he could be long gone by this point, but isn't it typical that they kind of end up being found relatively close to where the crime is committed?
Yeah, I mean, look, what's breaking now is, according to my source up there, is that it might be a student who has attended the school. If I'm running this thing, I'm going to tell you where I go right now. Now that the major lead washed out, I would say give me every student who attended the engineering program there or applied to the engineering program there in the last 5 years who was under 5'8" and of that weight. And then you're going to have it winnowed down, and then start looking at, okay, which one of them has either a gun license or has a protest record, an arrest for disorderly conduct at a protest, something like that, and get to your possible, probables, all right? You'll get to 50, let's say. And then you got to do the detective work. You got to go out and knock on the door, and you got to say, where were you? And eventually, if this is the right way to go, and I'm not saying it is, it's just one of the strands that you're going to pull, you will get to somebody who gets a little skittish, who doesn't want to say where they were, who seems a little antsy, and that's the person that goes right to the top of the list.
Yeah. It's interesting.
If I'm hearing it accurately, that might be what's developing now.
You just reminded me, because we haven't talked since last week, but when that video came out last week, I'm sure you saw it, of Luigi Mangione finally being tracked down at the McDonald's by those cops. I thought that was a fascinating little video moment, and we didn't see that until just now.
Sure. I mean, that was the body cam camera, and, they hadn't released that until they were well into the discovery process. And, generally discovery is pretty public. You can pull it offline. And so they ultimately released that. They knew that everybody was going to be pouring over it. But right now that's what's being challenged. And so it was put into evidence to support what went on there. Look for that to hold up. A nuance there is that the cop that did most of the talking, the initial approach, was right out of the academy. And that's good because he's got all of those constitutional protections at the top of his mind because they drill that into you in the academy.
Yeah, interesting.
So the fact that he was new is not actually demerit here. It's actually, I think, works in favor of law enforcement here. And look for all of that to hold up. Certainly the bag is going to come in. They may knock out a statement or two. It's not going to be a big deal. The defense will try to spin it as, oh, big victory here. The case is in jeopardy. Don't listen to it. The bag is coming in, and the bag had his manifesto and a gun that matched to the scene. Mangione is done. And the only question in my mind is whether or not he ultimately faces a federal case that brings in the death penalty.
Paul Mauro back with us this afternoon. I just have to get your thoughts on Rob Reiner. We aired a little bit of the L.A. Police News Conference a few minutes ago. Really nothing breaking from that. He was supposed to be, Nick Reiner, in court today. They have to have some medical clearance. But, Paul, good Lord. I mean, the one thing that I thought of is this poor girl who was the woman, and has to come up upon. I'm sure, and I said this to Phil Holloway yesterday, I'm sure you've seen some terrible things at crime scenes, but I can't imagine coming up on that, let alone have that be my mother and father.
Yeah, absolutely awful. First day of Hanukkah, my understanding is she was going over to celebrate Hanukkah. She comes upon that and then either calls 911 from right there or apparently called a family friend who lived 2 doors down who is another well-known entertainer. I don't think I should say the name because I don't know if it's out. And then, it started pinging around like wildfire. And then ultimately, as we've seen, people like Billy Crystal went over to ID the bodies. And, look, this one, unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of mystery to this one. The only thing I would say is somehow or other he's hired Alan Jackson, who was Karen Reed's attorney. Jackson doesn't come cheap. And this guy, my understanding was, until relatively recently, was living on the streets, which imports a sad irony, which is that the family that supported him all of these years is likely now who's paying for his attorney.
That's right.
As he's tried for the murder of his parents. You can fight that. The prosecutor can put in something called a surety, which means we want to see where this money comes from. But realistically, it's family money. It's going to be very difficult. You do that in narco cases to make sure that the lawyer isn't being paid by narcotics money. But chances are they're not going to even bother with that. And so, the irony is that Rob Reiner will be paying for the attorney of his murderer, his alleged murderer.
Unbelievable story. Paul Mauro, you have a great, great holiday. Have a great Christmas. I hope all is well. We will talk after the first of the year. So awesome always to have you. We really appreciate all the contributions over the last year.
And to you guys, Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday.
Take care. Thanks, Paul.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, let's take a look on the roads here. If you are just headed out the door, we've got an accident reported westbound 44 past Bowles, but it looks to me like they've managed to get that off to the shoulder. But 44 west of 141, there was an accident, and it was causing delays in both directions, and that's caused still a backup there. Southbound 270, slow pockets from Page through Doherty Ferry. Westbound 40 lines up approaching Hampton out through McCausland, slowing at 270 and at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 70 westbound isn't bad, but eastbound there was an accident reported coming off of the Blanchette Bridge, and that's caused a delay. Also a jam on southbound 141 from Ladue Road down through 64. And an earlier incident on the Poplar has created a jam back to the Missouri side near Jefferson. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
From our family at Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation to yours. Happy holidays.
You want to hurry this up, Mark? I'm freezing my baguettes off.
Relax, Grandpa. Air Comfort Service is on their way. Aubrey, you're not doing anything. You want to let me know when they get here?
Honey, her eyes are frozen shut. Gus.
Avoid a 5-alarm emergency with an HVAC system check from Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Learn more at aircomfortservice.com.
New tax resolution firms are popping up every day with high-paid celebrity endorsers, advertising ridiculous claims in their TV ads. That's why they have the tiny, unreadable disclaimers at the bottom of the screen. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. Our ads never have those ridiculous, fast-talking, tiny disclaimers at the end because, simply put, there are no guarantees when it comes to the IRS and wiping out tax bills. And we don't make promises we can't keep. Of course, there are ways the Lance Story Law Firm can help resolve your tax debt, but no company can guarantee it will eliminate it. This is why their clients call the Lance Story Law Firm when those promises don't pan out. If you have tax problems, you have legal problems, call me, Lance Drury in St. Louis, at 314-260-6120 or visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
We're coming up on Christmas very quickly here. Christmas has been and always has been a religious holiday for a lot of people throughout the world. And if not religious, just a celebration for family and friends. It's also the time of year where, while you might be enjoying or you like the holidays, there's people that are suffering, which this time of year is a really, really hard time of year for them. There's people that are suffering this Christmas because this could be their first Christmas without their loved one, husband, wife, mother, father, child, or their second, third, fourth, 10th, 12th Christmas. So for everyone of us that believe in God, and we do pray, remember that in your prayers daily, and hopefully that helps and makes a difference and makes it a little bit better in somebody's life that is suffering right now. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. God bless.
FIFA World Cup 2026 is coming soon, but your opportunity to be there starts now through an exclusive offer with an eligible Bank of America Visa credit card. For a limited time, become a new customized cash rewards or unlimited cash rewards Visa credit card holder, and you will be eligible for a chance to purchase FIFA World Cup 2026 tickets. Learn more at BofA.com/cardFWC26. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America, proud to be the official bank of FIFA World Cup 2026. Bank of America N.A. in partnership with Visa. Terms apply. Warrants reserved.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ETHOS.com/term.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Born in the Midwest, built on common sense. FM Talk. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Man, I felt like I was in the middle of a really good monologue, and then I had to go to that L.A. coverage on the Rob Reiner stuff, so I didn't get to complete my monologue. But I wanted to talk a little bit more, and Cassie Smedile is supposed to join us here in a moment about this piece by Chris Whipple's his name in Vanity Fair about Susie Wiles. Apparently, it's part 1 of 2, and there's things in here, and I was going to play what J.D. Vance had to say, but I think that Cassie's going to jump on here, so I'll save it for the end of the hour. But no one seems offended by anything that she said because they think that she was misrepresented and taken out of context, mainly because I think she was misrepresented and taken out of context. But then that kind of begs the question, hey, why did you talk to Vanity Fair in the first place? We'll get Cassie Smedile's thoughts on this. She is the VP of COIN, the first credit card for conservatives, former RNC press secretary, unfortunately also Kansas City Chiefs fan, dealing with the Mahomes injury and the end of the Chiefs season. But you know it's going to have to be one of those runs that would eventually stall out. I'm just worried about Patrick, right, with the injury. How are you?
I know. Yeah, I know. It's been a tough season, and this is a tough note to end on. I know there's still a couple more games, but you're right. And here's the thing, though. You get it. You're a Chiefs fan as well. We know the times. We lived a lot of years before they were the dynasty AFC champs, Super Bowl champs. We lived a lot of years of discontent and heartbreaking seasons. So this is unfortunately a familiar feeling that we knew would come back at some point. But yeah, we just mostly at this point just hope Patrick's okay and that he can recover fully, and the team will be back next year.
So, Cassie, I take a lot of grief here in St. Louis from even some of my colleagues, like Kevin Wheeler, sports guy at KMOX, because I cheat just a little bit because I'm a Packers fan as well. But I think I get accused of just jumping on the bandwagon, because what happened here is when the Rams left, there was a lot of anger, and then some people jumped on the Chiefs bandwagon, which, by the way, I have no problems with. But I started going to Chiefs games in the late 80s because the Cardinals, the football Cardinals, were here in St. Louis. I was here. They left to Arizona. We didn't have a team for a while. I was in Columbia at Mizzou and started to get interest in the Chiefs. So I've been going to Chiefs games for all that time. Now I got sucked up into the Packers craziness because I moved to Milwaukee a month or 2 months after Brett Favre won the Super Bowl in '97, and I had grown up in the northern Illinois area. I had a lot of relatives that were Packers fans. But now I have not either team because Micah Parsons goes down as well. Sue's a Steelers fan. Look at them right now.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Well, Aaron Rodgers looked pretty good last night.
Aaron was coming back.
Aaron Rodgers.
But
yeah,
he was down long enough to really screw us up. But you get it.
Oh, you mean the injury where he's
Yes.
out? Well, I mean, they're still going to win this division, so I think you have more hope than Cassie or I do for the postseason.
All right,
we'll have
good.
to
It's
see.
all about me.
All right, Cassie, on Susie Wiles. Look, you've been around people like this,
Yeah.
chiefs of staff, and I guess my surprise is that she even did this interview with Vanity Fair. It was done over the course of apparently 11 different visits, and what he does in the interview is he sort of picks different days in the administration that were of significance, and then what happens with all these print pieces, as you know probably better than most people, is the lack of context. So you call, she says something about J.D. Vance being a conspiracy theorist. Well, under what how did she say that, right? You're not given that indication.
Right. That's exactly right. I've not only worked on putting these types of pieces together, I've worked with this reporter and know that this is his way of doing things. And so I do question the conversation around doing this at all. There's no reward for working with the mainstream media.
Right.
And in an era where we have options, I mean, just look at what the Trump campaign did with going on Joe Rogan and going on Theo Von, that this is a historically acclaimed strategy. So why go back to the old rags that you know have no interest in helping you look good? I mean, just look, have you seen the comparison between the photo they did of Caroline Leavitt and what they did with Karine Jean-Pierre? Just that alone lets you know how your coverage is going to be.
And sometimes, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because sometimes this stuff is very subtle like that, and it's on purpose.
Mm-hmm. It is purposeful. Now, I do think that is part of their thinking of, we believe strongly enough in the work that we are doing that will show through the bias, break through the bias. But you touched on something, and I don't have any insider information on this, but this is my conjecture, again, from having worked on similar pieces. When you talk about 11 sit-downs, this was done over the course of a period of many months, almost a year.
Yeah.
I imagine many of the questions were asked and answered at a time that it was super relevant, like the Elon stuff, for example. And then it's coming out in December, many months after Elon left the White House. So when she talks about taken out of context, we're talking about months out of context, not just one conversation from a couple of weeks ago. And her answer 6 or 7 months ago might have been much more strategic in that regard. So that's where you have to be really clear about the parameters for a piece. When is this airing? We are only cooperative for this many days. But at some point, you're also trying to run the country and knock out fires from all over the world and get people affordable gas prices and all of these things. And then this guy just keeps calling you. So I don't think they'll do it again. But I also think that her comment about context being taken out of context is key here. Now, beyond that, Susie Wiles has an incredible reputation, great credibility amongst all levels of staff and principals in and around D.C. and in the political environment generally. I think she is fine. People are more defensive of her because they really respect her. But I do think that Eric Wimple has really ruined it for anybody else who was hoping to get a profile out of this administration, because I don't think they'll be doing this.
And let me say this, because I read the whole piece, and I'll read the next part too. It's not the worst, it's not the worst piece in history. It doesn't paint her as some idiot or anything like that. In fact, in many spots when you read it, she comes off as very powerful. But there's also this situation, and let's face it, there's never been. I mean, like, we can go back a couple hundred years. We weren't around with social media. We don't have video clips. But in the modern era of politics, there's never been anyone like President Trump. And he doesn't care. He just simply doesn't care what he says or how he says it. And he's not going to change, right? But Susie Wiles is not going to win every argument. The president is still the president. The White House chief of staff is going to say, look, I look at it this way. Here's our perspective. But the president is making the final decisions. I think she respects that. I think that came out in the article. One thing that I did not know about her, Cassie, is I didn't realize that she kind of had the falling out with DeSantis, that DeSantis kind of threw her under the rug. That I'd actually like a little more context on that. I'm very curious about that. I didn't know about it.
Yeah, she has an interesting background, and you saw that comment in the piece where she said, had he not really gone after her, things might have been different. Maybe she never would have gone to go back to work for President Trump. But she's one of the very few people who was able to go from Trump to DeSantis and back to Trump, all with the president's blessing. And that just tells you how good she is at her job, and her political instincts are really second to none. And I think DeSantis is regretting being on the wrong side of her, at least in that moment. But you also touched on something else really important. we know that President Trump, he doesn't like when anybody does profiles. So this was for sure an approved profile piece.
Absolutely.
But she made it very clear in the beginning that prior chiefs of staff, we know this with John Kelly, they tried to change him. They tried to bend him to what they thought the establishment or the traditional party apparatus wanted and needed. She understood from the very beginning, even back in 2016, that he was the leader of a movement, and she was there to carry out the wishes of the voters and the movement who elected him. And she has never once wavered from that. And I think that's why President Trump really respects her, and they have a very good relationship, and why I don't believe that I don't think he was mad at Susie today.
No,
they
I don't
went
think
on
so
about
either.
their day.
In fact, Donald Trump Jr. went on and had a couple of social media posts that were, incredibly complimentary of Susie, saying that she is by far the most effective and trustworthy chief of staff that my father has ever had. And he kind of goes into great detail about, her time with him. So I look, it's not the most politically damaging thing in any way, shape, or form. But let me ask you, as we close the year here, we got some economic numbers that weren't great today on jobs. Now, some of that, again, there's context there because you had people who were losing their government jobs maybe back when Susie Wiles was doing some of these interviews with Vanity Fair, and those numbers finally then took effect in October. So we saw some job losses that had been there for a while, or some buyouts. People had taken buyouts and things like that. But I ask this because it's interesting to me. I have some people, I'll give you an example. A week ago, Sean Spicer, a lot of concern about the way the Republicans are kind of heading in to 26. He has economic concern and just concerns about the politics and making sure that we keep the House, right? Other people, a lot more rosy. I don't believe this. We're a year off. I don't know what to believe. I'm at that point. Politics changes so quickly. I see some warning signs out there. Certainly, you have even this issue. This is what I said about the Rob Reiner thing, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. People know that President Trump says stuff like this, right? But then they kind of brush it off. In that circumstance, I worry that when you already have trouble, Cassie, with white suburban voters and people that might be on the fence a little bit, stuff like that kind of pushes them over the top again and says, I can't support this. And when you have margins that are so narrow in these congressional elections, I think you got to be careful about that.
No, I think that's right. What you're talking about here is message discipline. That when, for example, I went and filled up my gas tank over the weekend, and I paid $1 less than what I paid a year ago per gallon, $1 less. That is a significant difference. That is a direct result of policy changes that would not be in place if not for President Trump and Republicans in Congress. They should talk about that all day long until they are blue in the face. And I think they want to talk about it. But then you have these distractions like the Reiner tweet, even like the Vanity Fair piece that we just spent more than half of this conversation talking about, that I understand are good for clicks and good for fodder. But to your exact point, the issues that the American people really care about, the noise of everything else is getting in the way of them getting to focus on those issues and hearing about them and recognizing that, yeah, I did vote for that, and there is progress in what I voted for. We heard Vice President Vance say it again today, and I hope he'll continue to say it. The average American lost $3,000 a year under Joe Biden's administration. And in 1 year of the Trump administration, they've recovered $1,000 of it. I'm sorry, $3,000 over the Joe Biden administration. We've recovered $1,000, and we're on pace to get much more than that, to be in the plus column because of a result of these policies. Keep talking about those things.
And I think they're going to. There's a speech, as you know, probably, there's a speech that's scheduled for tomorrow. It's an address to the nation. They're not really saying what it's about. I'm going to play a little piece from Caroline here when I let you go. But clearly, I think that that's going to be a year-end speech about the victories and moving into 2026 in the focus. So I think it'll be pretty interesting. But the economic, to your point, the economic victories have to be pointed out. And I talk to a lot of people either who are behind the scenes or in front of the scenes that just feel sometimes Republicans are not good on some of that economic messaging. Cassie Smedile, always great to have you as a guest. You have a great Christmas. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. You too.
All right, take care. I want to play this audio here just because this was Carolyn, and we are going to air this tomorrow night, Sue. The announcement came a little bit earlier today that he will address the nation.
We greatly look forward to President Trump addressing the nation tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern. I hope your audience will tune in, and Americans across the country will tune in to hear from their president as well about the historic accomplishments that he has garnered for our country over the past year. If you look at the security of our border, if you look at stopping stopping Joe Biden's inflation right in its tracks, bringing down gas prices to the lowest level in 5 years. President Trump will be talking about what's to come. The best is truly yet to come, as he often says. And so he'll be addressing the country about all of his historic accomplishments over the past year, and maybe teasing some policy that will be coming in the new year as well as we head into this Christmas season.
One of the challenging things with that thing tomorrow night is that there's two Trumps, right? And we know this, and they kind of meld together. There's teleprompter Trump that has to give the speech at events, and then there's the weaving Trump, and he goes off, the script.
Yes.
And he can do both at the same time, but I think you got to be careful tomorrow to have a focus. You still have his flair and his personality, but not just teleprompter Trump. But that's coming up tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central. We're going to air it live here.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
If you are traveling on westbound 44, we've got an accident past Bowles. This is blocking the left lane, and we really have a jam behind it. The good news is that we've got the one that's west of 44 at 141 cleared. So that looks better through there. Accident eastbound 70 at the Blanchette Bridge. This one has been blocking the two right lanes. Traffic is slow behind it. Westbound 70 is not bad out of downtown. 6440, though, it's jammed. Kings Highway out through McCausland, then in pockets. Mainly moderate volume out through 70. 44 westbound slowing in front of the Arch grounds. And eastbound 40 slowing east of Jefferson across the Poplar Street Bridge. By the way, signal problems reported. Southbound 141 at 6440, and boy, is it slow through there. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan at McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyhomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
Hey, it's Sue Thomas, just here to wish you a very Merry Christmas. Hope you have a wonderful holiday. And thanks for being such fabulous people. We just have the best listeners, and we all really, really appreciate it. And a Happy New Year, too.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Grandpa had a soft spot for dogs.
Yeah, he always had treats in his pocket.
He said if you're going to take care of people, you better take care of their best friends too.
Is that why we help dog shelters?
That's right. For every service call, we donate 10 pounds of dog food to local dog shelters, helping dogs waiting for a home.
Grandpa would like that.
He sure would.
Green is always grasser at grasserhomeservices.com.
Hi, I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, America's largest family law firm. During this time of year, difficult relationships sometimes become impossible. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
Well, it's the holiday season, and folks like me and maybe you are looking right now at your financial situation, wondering how it can be better. Stewie is here with me right now. What's Stewart's American Mortgage doing for folks this holiday season when it comes to their financial position?
You know what, Annie, you're right. The holidays are here, and maybe it's time to think about what you can do to improve the quality of your life and your family's life. Maybe refinance and get a lower payment. Maybe take cash out for those projects and consolidate debt, maybe even decide to buy a home. These are all options that are in front of you. Look back and say, what can I do to make my life better? It's here. It's an option for you. It's the holiday season, folks. Let's go ahead and make things happen and bring the new year in with a better quality of life.
That action, it's a phone number. Call or text 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. And you're going to connect with Stewie directly. Google the Bagel Loan for more information. NMLS number 226715.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was.
I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/radio for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, organic, free-range, and pasture-raised. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Here's a story that I just saw in our local paper. Don't know what it means. Really don't even know how to pronounce his name, but the soccer club has hired a new coach.
Oh.
How would you pronounce this? Yoann, like yawn? Yoann Damet, or is it Dame? It's Damet. He's an assistant with Columbus. He is the new head coach of St. Louis City.
Yeah, I got nothing on that.
No, it says after a huge swing and miss in 2025, I don't think there's any doubt about that, with a coach and a distinguished playing career who is new to Major League Soccer, St. Louis City has gone the other way, hiring a coach with ample experience in the league as an assistant and essentially no playing career. So this guy's French. He's worked in North America for over a decade, and I guess he's been most recently with the Columbus Crew. So there you go. You have a new coach for the soccer team. You would hope for some better results this year, right? Wouldn't you think? Last year was a little rough.
Yeah, it would almost have to be better.
Right. I would think so. So let me I'll play this because I have a little bit of time here, but I don't want to belabor the whole point with Trump and Rob Reiner and that whole thing. I didn't like it. A lot of people didn't like it. I think people are ready to move on. But here's one thing that, that Jennings said on CNN last night that I think is important. And I try to make this point a little bit with Cassie because there's nobody like Trump. And sometimes you have to kind of remember that when you talk about all these stories.
He is the most consequential political force in the modern era. He is the strongest party boss either party has ever seen. He got more votes each time he appeared on the ballot. He has people that will only vote for him. That puts you in a different realm. I mean, when you're that kind of and two-term presidents often have this, but you cannot deny, he is the most consequential political force of the modern era of either party.
Yeah, undeniable, really. So then on the tweet or the Trump Truth Social post on Rob Reiner, I heard from a lot of people yesterday that agreed with me, and they're Trump supporters. But they're not going to drop support. They're looking at their 401k. They're looking at the country, saving the country. So here's Jennings on that.
Look, I've been hearing for 10 years that Trump's going to lose his base over this or that or the other. And for millions upon millions of Republicans who support what he's doing, who have lived through the last 10 years, they have learned to take Donald Trump for who he is, all in, all the time. And they are very appreciative of what he's doing for the country. They like what he's done on taxes. They like what he's doing on immigration. They like that he lives up to his campaign promises. But we're living through another moment here where a bunch of people are going to come out and make predictions about Trump and the base and this and that. And the reality is, it's not true. There are going to be a lot of people who don't like this statement, and then they're going to assess the state of American politics and assess the alternative and say, I knew what I was signing up for when I voted for him 3 times, and I'm going to ride it out.
And I agree with that. Now, listen to James Woods. James Woods is a staunch conservative, right? But he also loved Rob Reiner.
Rob literally saved my career and really put me back on track in a way that was so important and rewarding in my life, and he really fought for me. But when people would say to me, well, what do you think of his politics? I would say, I think Rob Reiner is a great patriot. Do I agree with some of or many of his ideas on how that patriotism should be enacted to celebrate the America that we both love? No. But he doesn't agree with me either.
Yeah, well stated there. My whole deal, and I'll just kind of close it this way, is I would not expect Donald J. Trump to say nice things about Rob Reiner based on what Rob Reiner said about him. But there is a point, and I think we've long passed the point of where this is going to happen, where you just maybe don't say nothing. But I've held out hope for 10 years, and that hasn't happened.
traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Westbound 70, a little bit of moderate volume at Jennings Station Road. It was an accident earlier near the Blanchette Bridge that caused a delay eastbound. Westbound 6440, a slow go. Kings Highway out through McCausland, slowing in both directions at 270, and then some moderate volume out west. The accident westbound 44, this one is past Bowles. They've been working to get it from the left lane off to the right shoulder. But in the meantime, we've got a jam that goes back past 270. And southbound 270, some slow pockets now. It's mainly from, it looks like Olive in pockets on down through just past Doherty Ferry. At 55 is slowing at Bates. If you're headed into Illinois, there's a huge jam on the Missouri side. Not so bad on the Illinois. This report brought to you by Aspen Contracting. Aspen Contracting, roofsbyaspen.com. If your home siding is cracked or faded, Aspen Contracting has materials, manpower, and project managers to get the job done fast. Call them today for your free siding inspection, 636-465-1696. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, it's a great time to be thinking about a new flooring project in your home. I want to guide you into the best here in St. Louis, and that's Michael's Flooring Outlet with 3 great locations and an outstanding website as well. You can kind of get started with the website if you so desire. It's igotfloor.com, and if you want some inspiration for a particular room, it's amazing because they have on the website, I'll simplify it for you here. You go up and you just click on the tab that says inspiration. You'll see products, services, reviews, financing, inspiration, about us, contact, all that. But if you click on inspiration, you'll see a bunch of the galleries that they have from you, for which you can choose from. So they have the carpet gallery, they have the hardwood gallery, they have the laminate gallery, the tile gallery, the luxury vinyl gallery, the vinyl gallery, the stone gallery, and the glass tile gallery for your bathroom. All kinds of options with Michael's and experts with the team to really help you reimagine your space, do something different, update the look, maybe replace some carpeting like I did with some hard flooring because your bunny is chewing the carpeting up. How many people can say that? Probably just me, but it was an issue in my house. Sue says crickets. Yeah, probably. But it was a unique problem that I had, and Mike and the team at Michael's Flooring Outlet solved it for me. 3 locations are open every day except for Sunday in Old Town St. Peters, Darden Prairie, and in West County on Olive. And again, that website has everything you'll need. Do me a huge favor. They're a great sponsor of this show and this radio station. Tell them that we sent you along. Michael's Flooring Outlet, igotfloor.com.
Accidents happen quickly, especially in rideshares. Whether you're the driver or the passenger, injuries can leave you with more than just physical pain. They bring uncertainty, stress, and questions about what to do next. At Kaufman Townsley, we understand the challenges you face. We're here to help you navigate the tough time, fight for what you deserve, and get you the support you need. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
Is your home ready for the holidays? Beat the holiday rush. Call Zero Res. Spots are filling up fast, so don't put it off any longer. Lock in your deal today at ZeroResSTL.com. And happy holidays from all of us at Zero Res.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
This is a Fox News alert. Murder charges in L.A. on Lisa Brady. 2 days after an iconic director and his wife were stabbed to death in their home.
Today, I'm here to announce that our office will be filing charges against Nick Reiner, who is accused of killing his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michelle Singer Reiner.
Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hockman.
These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon that being a knife.
He says Nick Reiner could face the death penalty, but there's no decision yet on that. Hockman and the L.A. police chief also not confirming any details about the crime scene or the evidence. Nick Reiner, who's 32, had been open about a years-long struggle with addiction, co-writing his father's 2016 movie, Being Charlie. President Trump plans a primetime address to the nation tomorrow night.
The president will make a year-end address to the nation, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says.
All that he's done to bring our country back to greatness and all he continues to plan to do to continue delivering for the American people over the next 3 years.
President Trump is facing falling approval ratings over his handling of the economy, a trend administration officials are intent to reverse heading into the 2026 midterms. Leavitt says the president will also travel to Dover, Delaware Wednesday for the dignified transfer of 2 Iowa National Guard soldiers killed last week in an attack in Syria.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. That address set for 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Vice President J.D. Vance in Pennsylvania.
We are trying to get to a health care policy that's good for Americans.
This as a fight over subsidizing Obamacare or reforming it continues in Congress, with current tax credits set to expire this month. America is listening to Fox News.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZzzQuil Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZzzQuil Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Oh, just great temperatures this afternoon around town, and we will drop out of the 50s and into the mid to upper 40s fairly quickly this evening. Some clouds around tonight and 35 for the low. Wednesday, let's do it again. Mostly sunny skies. Temperatures much like today. 55 for the high. Fast warm-up after the morning chill. Wednesday night, the clouds sweep in 45, and Thursday, clouds, periods of rain. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Seems to be one of those days where there's a lot of moving pieces and news conferences across the country. They had one earlier about Nick Reiner, Rob Reiner's son. He did not appear in court today because they have medical clearance that they still have to attain. Then there's a new timeline in the shooting in Brown. There might even be a news conference in Providence about that coming up as soon as this hour, so we might bring that to you. But you know what? What's more fun than politics and everything else to talk about on the holidays than puppies? Really?
Yay!
Right, Sue? Puppies are one of our favorite things. I have a puppy that is now, remember when I made that wager with Jeannie Sullivan and I thought this little puppy Max was going to be like 60 pounds?
Yeah.
He weighed in last week at 51.7 pounds. So he's going to be a good size. I asked Jeannie, I said, well, so if he's 50 pounds around 8 months, he's 8 months in a couple of days, then full grown, it'd be maybe 57, maybe around 60. But that's pretty good.
That's pretty
I
close.
didn't want to get into the whole 80, 100 pound. Yeah, I've done that before. I had a 105-pound lab. And that will make a nice segue here for an introduction to duo dogs. You kind of brought this to our attention, didn't you?
I did. In my new neighborhood, I go bicycling with a friend of mine named Carolyn. She's my new neighbor. And she said she really likes dogs. And we got talking about dogs. And she said, well, I'm a whelper helper. And I said, what? And she said she's a whelper helper at a place called Duo Dogs. And I did not know that this place existed.
Nor did I.
In St. Louis. So we're going to talk to Dawn today to find out about Duo Dogs because they actually train dogs that will help people. Hi, Dawn.
Dawn Van Houten, who's the CEO. Hi, Dawn. How are you this afternoon?
Good afternoon. I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you so much. And I actually got to sit down with Carolyn this morning we got to feed the baby puppies their first food this morning.
Oh, my goodness. So let's talk about the puppy cam because, I mean, even someone like me who's always in a bad mood, you just have to know that about me, Dawn. You look at this puppy cam, and it's just going to make you smile, and it's so cute. Right now I'm watching it. You got a couple of little black labs that are sleeping and resting. I don't see quite as many as I did last week. Are they just hiding on me, or have you haven't adopted these out yet, have you?
Oh, no, and we
Okay.
don't adopt them out, and I'll kind of
Okay.
explain how that works.
Yes,
but there are
please
9
do.
of them back there right now, so there's 9 of them, and they're pretty busy. So sometimes you'll just see a few, or maybe you'll see all of them. But we're a nonprofit here in St. Louis, and we breed, train, and raise service dogs who help people with all different kinds of activities like mobility issues, or we help people who are deaf and hard of hearing with a hearing dog, or we place a facility dog in a school or a hospital or a child advocacy center. We help veterans with PTSD. And so these puppies that you see are going to grow up to work as a service dog.
That's
and
amazing.
So people like it is incredible. So you're talking about the labs. The English Labrador Retriever is what we really focus on for our work. They're easily trainable. They're athletic. They like to work, and so that's what you'll see over here at Duo Dogs.
Well, what's
And
the
so-
difference between? I mean, do they have an English accent? What's the difference between a standard
Yes.
lab or an English lab? I don't really know that, and I had a lab, so I don't know the answer to that.
It is so funny that you asked that question because it's actually just kind of just different line of breeding. They're still lab, just like an American lab is a little bit taller, more and like the Hunt, a little bit more. The English Labrador Retriever is just a little bit shorter, stockier, and their drive is a little bit different
I
than
gotcha.
what a hunting lab would
By the
be.
way, when you were describing all this, one of the black labs that's in a little doggy bed just did like a complete tumble over, yawned and stretched out his legs. It was adorable. But that's interesting. So it's English labs. So then at this point, these are dogs, like you said, you're just feeding them. They're just getting weaned right now, right?
So, and actually, Mom is still back there
Okay.
with them, and so we're actually helping her with some additional food, and so there's 9 of them. So when it's time to feed, it's all hands on deck in our office, and so 9 people will go back there in the whelping room and sit down with a little plate of food and hold them in our lap and feed them, and so it really is a lot of fun. But we have 45 in training right now at all ages. So starting with those little guys to dogs that are almost 2 years old that are ready to be assigned to one of our clients. And we do place our dogs at no cost to our clients. So they remain Duo dogs while they're working, and they work until they're 10 years old. And then when they're 10 years old, they retire. And most of the time, our client will adopt them to be their personal pet, at that time. So there's 90 of them working out there right now. So there's a lot of blue capes. And then you also, for folks in St. Louis, when you see those blue Duo dog capes, you're either going to see an assistance dog in training, or a Duo touch therapy dog. And so these are volunteers that have brought their own personal dog to Duo to be trained to be in our program. Once they're certified as a Duo touch therapy dog, they can go into a hospital or a school or a library just for short periods of time, and our volunteer can just share the love of their dog with others to just really make their day. So it's really a lot of fun.
Dawn, how do you guys get funding? How do you help this? I know it's a nonprofit. How can anybody help?
I'm glad that you asked. And so we do need financial support to do what we do. So we do work with a few local corporations and foundations, and then we do have events where we do fundraising. We have a big gala in the spring. It's called our Blue Tie Gala, and that's in March of next year. And we have a golf tournament in April next year. And then we also, if you go to our website, duodogs.org, we have an Amazon wish list there, so folks can go take a look at supplies, that we need to raise and train these puppies. And then volunteer. So from just a people experience, people like Carolyn that can come in, and because once the puppies are 8 weeks old, they go out with a volunteer puppy raiser into their home. So that's another volunteer opportunity. So they only stay here for 8 weeks. And then when they're about a year and a half old, they come back and live with us full time for that advanced training to really get those skills.
And where do you find the trainers? I mean, you must have a deep bench there with all these dogs, right?
It's a very unique skill set. You don't see a lot of dog training schools or colleges, in the area. So there is a nice certification that trainers can get to come and work for us. And then experience really goes a long way. Our current lead canine trainer has been doing this for 20 years. And so you do learn a lot along the way on how to create a successful assistance dog.
Dawn Van Houten is here. She's the CEO of Duo Dogs. Were you the person who created all this, or was that somebody else?
I am not. Our organization's been around for about 40 years, believe it or not. And we were started by actually a nurse who identified the great advantage that an assistance dog could provide a person. And so this, started 40 years ago. And so now we've got a 20,000 square foot facility in Maryland Heights that we're doing our work right here today.
I can't believe we've never heard of them.
I know, I can't either. And it's such a boost to see in any kind of situation, if you're not feeling well or you're not doing well, to have a dog show up is really a huge deal. So kudos to Duo Dogs for doing this. If you know somebody, can somebody call and say, gosh, I have somebody who needs an assistance dog? How do you get one?
So the best way is really to go to our website, and there is an inquiry link that you go to. And so that inquiry link will kind of ask some really key questions to identify, is an assistance dog good for you? And they are in demand. I mean, they're in demand actually all across the country. So, right now a wait list for an assistance dog can be 2 to 5 years to wait for one. So they're in high demand. But people are realizing that the impact that they can make in their life. I mean, science is telling us that they can reduce stress and anxiety. They can provide independence for somebody who perhaps has a mobility issue. So we're really identifying really what they can do. It's very concrete in a way.
So the puppy cam did not have a lot of activity on it. You can find it at duodogs.org. But what I did is I pressed play, and it took me back to a different part of the day. And then I saw more dogs. And you have 9 dogs. They're all black except for one. It looks like?
Yes, and we'll be actually announcing the names a little bit later today, which is always fun. So check into our social media to see what those are. But yeah, this last litter.
Yellow lab, right?
There were 8 black puppies and 1 yellow.
Unbelievable.
And so black is a dominant color, so we have a lot more. But I have to tell you, we have had so many people signing on to watch the puppy cam. Our internet keeps going down here. I mean, we're running out of broadband.
That's awesome.
We've got people all over the world. We've got people in Canada, in Japan.
Because it's so adorable. Yes. I'm telling you, I'm going to have it on it like the next couple of weeks at home at all time. It reduces my blood pressure. It really does. Dawn, you are, by the way, you're an outstanding spokesperson for the organization, and I say that sincerely. So thank you for putting this on our radar. Duodogs.com, I think, or is it duodogs.org? I want to make sure we give the org. Duodogs.org, right?
Correct, yes.
Awesome.
And thank you so much.
We're going to be watching Puppy Cam a lot. If you need any help, make sure you let us know. Thanks, Dawn.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you, Sue, because you brought that to our attention. We love all things dogs. I'm not sure how I was not familiar with that organization.
Me neither. When she told me, I thought, well, I've never heard. What?
Extremely impressive. Sue's News on a Tuesday coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've had some issues on the roads this afternoon. If you are a westbound 44 driver, don't panic, Mark. You don't leave in for another couple hours.
2 hours, right?
Westbound 44 is lined up approaching Lindbergh to an accident near Bowles, and it's just past Bowles. It started in the left lane. They're working to get that off to the shoulder, but there is a jam behind it near Big Bend. Westbound 6440 lines up at Kings Highway out of downtown. There were signal problems southbound 141 at 64, and there's a jam back near Ladue Road. Also a slow go westbound 64 out west at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. And if you're headed into Illinois, we've got a jam near Jefferson to the Poplar Street Bridge. This report is brought to you by Aspen Contracting. roofsbyaspen.com. If your home siding is faded or cracked or storm damaged, call Aspen Contracting. They have the materials, manpower to get the job done fast. Don't let your home be an eyesore. Call them today, 636-465-1696. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So we have some new video out from Brown University, and the mayor of Providence, Brett Smiley, and a bunch of people are holding a news conference. We would air this. I would share this with you, but honestly, it's more visual because they're running through some of the video clips and describing it. We'll be on top of it. If we have information to share, we'll get right on it.
If a Lenovo computer for your business is on your holiday list, don't shop around. Just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com. It's your last chance to get exclusive deals on the PCs you want for your business, like the ThinkPad X914 Aura Edition and Yoga 7i 2-in-1. So avoid all that shopping chaos and price comparing, and just go directly to the source, Lenovo.com, where PCs are up to 35% off. That's Lenovo.com.
Lenovo. As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention as we discuss neuropathy with Dr. Patton, D.C. Doctor, what is neuropathy?
Peripheral neuropathy is nerve damage to the feet and legs.
What are the symptoms?
The symptoms are numbness, burning, tingling, pain, and loss of balance.
Is neuropathy treatable?
It's absolutely treatable, and we have amazing results.
If you have burning, tingling, numbness, coldness in your feet or hands or balance issues, call us at Comprehensive Integrated Health today for a nerve damage screening. The screening will tell if you're at risk for serious complications and if you're a candidate for our cutting-edge treatment program. Don't wait until your symptoms are so severe nothing can be done. End-stage neuropathy leaves people confined to walkers, wheelchairs, and even amputations. The first 10 callers will receive a free nerve damage screening. Call 636-538-5188. That's 636-538-5188 for your free nerve damage screening. 636-538-5188.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now, but I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code NEXT for an extra 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code NEXT for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code NEXT.
Are you looking for a podcast about pro football that doesn't put you to sleep with an avalanche of analytics or insult your fandom with brainless hot takes? Well, hi. I'm Dan Hansis.
And I'm Mark Sessler.
Oh, hi, Mark. And we're the hosts of Heed the Call, the NFL podcast you've been waiting your whole life for.
Heed the Call covers every game, every storyline, everything that matters, and we do it all with a touch of mirth.
Football is fun. Why shouldn't your football podcast be the same?
Follow and listen to Heed the Call NFL podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
He's not here to play nice. He's here to make you think. Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
One of our favorite people always, every day, anytime, is Kenny Wallace, NASCAR legend, and he is going to join us. I put a little list together for Fred saying there's some folks that we want to touch base with before we wrap for the year. Kenny is on that list. He's at the top. He always is, and he's going to join us here in just a little bit with some reflections, with some holiday reflections. You never quite know.
Holiday cheer.
Right. You never quite know what you're going to get from
No,
Kenny.
you do not.
But it's always going to be good.
Yes.
Right? I think we know that.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have
any comment.
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
You guys, it's National Chocolate-Covered Anything Day. I
like
love
it.
that.
I like it.
Let's leave the field open, people.
Exactly.
Over.
I already had a couple of Kit Kats today, like the mini Kit Kats. So I got a good start.
A mini?
That's my like post-lunch, 2 little mini Kit Kats. That's my thing.
Do they make dark chocolate Kit Kats? Because I think that would be the
I don't
ultimate.
know. That's a good question. Because I shifted. I was doing the dark Reese's, right?
Yes, that's why I thought it was a possibility.
I've gone to the Kit Kats, though. But that's a valid question. I have to look into that.
See if you can find it. Okay, overall, the most popular thing to cover in chocolate is, Fred?
Peanuts?
Good answer, but no.
Dough? I don't know. What? I don't know.
Dough?
Well, like cookie dough. What are you looking at here?
Okay,
I don't know
get
what
it.
the answer is.
Bacon.
Bacon?
Really?
Okay, here's what they say.
Okay.
They say that bacon specifically is the top choice in Missouri.
Wait, what? What was the question?
Chocolate-covered bacon. I've never seen it.
I've never even heard of that.
They say it's number 1 in Missouri, Alabama, Colorado, Georgia, Indiana, Iowa, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Wisconsin.
No, there's no such thing.
Bananas. Bananas are the I mean
bananas. I can see.
I would. That sounds really good to me.
I dip a banana. You know what I do? A little Nutella. With a banana.
Fun.
That's really good.
I used to eat the frozen chocolate-dipped bananas. Anyway, they are the most popular in Arizona, blah, blah, blah. Raisins are number 1 in Illinois. Chocolate-covered raisins. I used to get those
are good.
at the theater.
I
yes.
did, too. I liked them at the theater.
I totally would eat them there. It's kind of horrifying how quickly you do so at the theater.
Well, see, those was always funny because if you go through like nutrition over the decades or whatever, like I had myself convinced back in the day, like in the 90s, I'm eating chocolate-covered raisins. These are pretty good for me. They're not. There's no sugar in these. It's all good, right? Because it's raisins.
Listen, that is a fruit, sort of. And on this day in history, in 1970, our own Mark found this. We'll have a little music for this. 5 singles and 5 albums by CCR were certified gold. This is one of them.
And it's amazing when you think about it. It was a different time in the music industry, but all of these records at one time, yeah. For whatever reason, I cannot hear the vocals of John Fogerty very well. It sounds like something's weird there. I was telling you this during the break. I was not a CCR guy at all until Fogerty puts a record out. I think it was 1993. It was called Blue Moon Swamp. It won a Grammy for Best Rock Album. I fell in love with that record and then fell in love with CCR.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. And 37 years ago today, in 1988, Rain Man was released. Rain Man, the movie. I would have pulled out, I don't know, all this stuff. I didn't like any of the bites. Anyway, that was in 1988. And
great movie.
Yeah,
just
it's
a really special
good.
movie.
And, everything just, you have to watch the whole thing. Otherwise, it sounds crazy. And then 31 years ago, in 1994, Dumb and Dumber came out. I almost played that, and then I thought, there's so many good, but they're horrible. They're horrible.
Did you ever
at the
see the
same
sequel
time.
of that?
No,
it was
of
just
course
terrible.
not.
It was terrible.
Well,
but,
of course it was.
That was a culture-changing moment, Dumb and Dumber, wasn't it?
Well, I suppose
that
it
was when Jim Carrey was just starting to really take off.
Yeah, he was. And Jeff Daniels with the hair.
Yeah.
And the haircut on Jim Carrey with the tooth, stop it. All right, there's a little bit more out about Rob Reiner and his wife today, but this is more of the entertainment aspect of it. In other words, they're talking about Saturday night at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. Sources say that he had a big argument with his father. A lot of people overheard it. They say that TMZ, of course, reporting that Michelle and Rob had been telling friends over the last few months that she and Rob were at their wits' end. Yeah. And we talked about the bodies being found by their daughter. But they say that Nick, who is accused of this crime, their son, checked into a hotel around 4 a.m. on Sunday morning. The staff came to the room later that day. They found some evidence, bed in the shower. So
do they think he did it then after the party, early Sunday? Is that what the timeline is?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the timeline. One of the British tabloids got video of Billy Crystal and his wife outside the Reiners' home after the news of their death. It's, that sort of thing.
Oh, the paparazzi is going to be swarming.
Oh,
I'm sure they were swarming
awful.
that night. They are just, I'm telling you, I've been exposed to some of them, and they are ruthless, and they'll get wherever they can because that's their paycheck, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. It has been 35 years since Home Alone came out. Now, it became one of the highest-grossing live-action comedies of all time, and they've put out some facts that we may not know just about that. The first one is John Hughes came up with the idea because of his own travel anxiety during a family trip to Europe. His son, James, remembers his father saying, what if one of the kids we accidentally left behind? And I always thought that was nuts. How are you going to leave a kid behind? But I guess if it's a whole huge trip, Fred, you've got 2 kids, you're not leaving anybody.
No, I don't
The
think
way that they executed that was perfectly. It really was. It was, chaotic in the morning. They're all trying to get into the car, and then poor little Kevin gets left behind.
Exactly. They say that John Hughes wrote the first draft of that script in 9 days. That's as long as it took him.
You get inspired. And I mentioned Macaulay Culkin is featured in the really, really wonderful documentary on John Candy directed by Colin Hanks. And he makes that, remember I told you he makes this point. He goes, I get associated with John Hughes movies, but I did 3. And John Candy did like 9.
9. That's nuts. They did a marathon on that somewhere that I was watching.
Like all the John Hughes movies?
Yeah. Oh no, all the ones that John Candy was in.
That's
I
even
think
better.
we saw that in a hotel in Chicago. Chris Farley had auditioned for the role of Santa Claus. I did not realize that in that movie. And Joe Pesci actually bit Macaulay Culkin's finger during one of the rehearsals. Macaulay says he still has a white scar on his right index finger from the bite. Then he gives him trouble about it.
Didn't you have something last week about this, that if you actually looked at the injuries, the 2 thieves suffered?
Yeah. It was out. Yes. And they say that iconic aftershave scene was an accident because Macaulay's just a kid. He was only supposed to quickly touch his face, but instead he kept his hands there. And it became like a thing, a really big thing. All right, there is a naked Christmas tree trend going viral on social media. Well, I try to keep us up on the trends, people, which is just what it sounds like. It's a Christmas tree without any ornaments, no decoration, sometimes without lights. It's big with celebrities this year.
Figures.
When you just put up a tree and look at it?
Yeah. We did that for 3 days, and then we decorated it. We didn't have time, and then we finally decorated and put lights on.
Well, that's called a Christmas tree lot.
Exactly.
Thank you, Fred. A common look is a bare Christmas tree sparsely lit with soft white lights. They call it modern and minimalist.
Well, I have a fake tree that has that,
Yeah,
basically.
now see, that's nice.
Right.
It's just not your main tree.
No.
And by the way, 1,400 couples in D.C. broke a world record for the most couples kissing under the mistletoe. And they did it. They got 1,435 couples. The last record had been set by us in St. Louis at 480 down at AB.
Oh, we got blown out, though.
So
by 1,000?
we're going to, let's hope that we can get back in the game. And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. Movie previews are called trailers because they were originally shown at the end of movies. The name stuck even once they started showing them first.
I actually knew that one, believe it or not.
He's a movie guy.
Yeah, every once in a while I get one. There you go. That's Sue's News on a Tuesday.
I'm Frank Miller with Your Money Now. Well, a new NBC News Decision Desk poll shows that most Americans plan to cut back on holiday gift spending this year. More than half of respondents said they intend to spend less than last year. Only 9% say they plan to spend more. When asked about personal finances, 41% reported their financial situation was about the same as a year ago. More respondents felt it was worse, about 35%, than better, which clocked in at about 24%. And European Union plans to ban the sale of new combustion engine cars by the year 2035 have been dialed back a bit following some pressure from auto manufacturers. The European Commission proposed today to apply the ban to only 90% of new vehicles. That's down from its original plan of 100%. It'll allow the remaining 10% of new cars sold after 2035 to be either plug-in hybrids or combustion engine vehicles. On Wall Street, stocks finished today mostly lower as investors reacted to mixed jobs data. The Dow off over 300 points. The S&P.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals. And it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
CVS Health supports people in the moments that matter, from picking up a prescription to connecting care. With nearly 5 million daily interactions and serving 185 million consumers and 1.5 million healthcare professionals, CVS Health holds a trusted place in healthcare. By simplifying care and improving health, we're helping people get the care they need. Learn more at cvshealth.com/investor day.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call me, Lance Drury, today and let me get between you and the IRS. I'll protect your rights. At the Lance Drury Law Firm, our practice is focused 100% on fighting the IRS. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Drury Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis. Call 314-260-6120. Visit Lance, DRURY law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
You know, there's a certain way we do things around here, the Grasser way.
The Grasser way?
We don't cut corners and we don't take shortcuts. Not on the little stuff and not on the big stuff.
We do the big stuff.
That's right. Whole home generators that kick on the moment the grid gives up. Lights stay on, heat stays on, your family stays safe, so your house stays warm.
And your ice cream stays frozen.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
250 years ago, a promise was made to connect families and friends, near and far. And during the holidays, that promise is more important than ever. That's why USPS is building a better network to meet your needs, with timely deliveries, easy and affordable ways to ship, and everything you need to make your season full of holiday cheer. Our purpose is delivering your peace of mind, knowing your love will arrive, bringing joy to all. The United States Postal Service. Learn more at USPS.com/holidays.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. Real talk, today's issues. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Tuesday afternoon on 97.1 FM Talk. It's the Mark Reardon Show as we get you closer and closer to Christmas. And I mentioned to Fred a couple of weeks ago, there's certainly some folks we want to get on before the end of this week, because I'm going to do some best ofs Monday and Tuesday. We still are trying to get a hold of Jennings. He's on his book tour, so he's a little hard to pin down right now. Kenny Wallace was on the top of my list. We love Kenny. He always has interesting things to say. You better not suck today. I'm building you up so much. How are you? Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. How are you, Kenny?
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and Sue. That's Scott Jennings, man. I'm amazed in the excitement that you know him. He is such a badass. I mean, they can't get him if they try. There's like 6 of them on one, and he wins.
I know. It's amazing,
right?
Isn't it? Yeah. He's had quite the ride. I mean, he's been on this show for 8 or 9 years and then kind of blew up. So he is. So you watch, I've been doing this a little bit too. You can sample CNN just to see what they're saying every once in a while, and you watch those matches at night sometimes.
You have to keep your eye on the enemy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all, your friends, you kind of, you just got to watch the enemy so you know where they're coming from and what their strategy is. But, yep, and I listen to you guys, and I've been listening, and I know what's up.
Well, how is your year wrapping up? I can't tell who travels more these days, you or Fred. Fred's like an international traveler.
That is 100%
I think you were somewhere warm recently again, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I first of all, I talked to Fred about me accidentally calling him Bottenheimer years ago, and he said, and he says that Fred says that everywhere he goes, everybody says, "Hey, Bottenheimer."
How about Fred Bottenheimer over there, ladies and gentlemen?
Kenny, they do. When we go out to events, they say it every time.
You have done more to raise my, recognition than anybody else.
There you go.
So, a good mistake. Well, so yeah, Kim and I just got back from a 9-day vacation, and man, it goes fast. When you're on those vacations, it feels like it's forever. And I go back to a hero of mine, a great race car driver. His name was Dick Trickle out of Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin. And Dick was a philosopher. And he would say, he would call me his boy, my boy. He smoked a cigarette and he'd have a coffee in his hand. He'd say, my boy, do you know why we go on vacation? I'm like, no, Dick, why do we go on vacation? And he would simply say in that philosopher type voice, so we can go back home.
Oh, my gosh. Kenny, how was the sale that you had at your house before you went?
You know what, Sue? We've had so much going on. We had a garage sale because we collected too much stuff, and that went good. Kim had her craft show on November 6th. It went good. And then I recently, right before I went on that vacation, they had a big race downtown St. Louis there at the Dome.
Yeah.
They had 38,000 people there. And I thought, well, I'm still in town for one day. So on that Thursday, we had an open house. And, it was, just a way for me to pay back. And then we also had our merchandise on sale here. But we had people from all over America through my shop, through my house. And, I do quite a bit of social media, so they stood underneath the Wallace Racing sign here next to my race car and had a good old time.
So the people, you just kind of open up the gates and let everyone come in. Can they do that 24 hours a day, or are there limitations to that?
No. We there's so much to say about that. We really can't leave it all open because, I have a couple enemies out there. They're mad at me because I'm too nice, and they just can't believe it. And they're like, they're just going to roll up my driveway and peek in here. And because I win on a local level, they're thinking I've got all these employees, and when they come up here, it's me and my son-in-law. And my son-in-law, he's doing his deal, I'm doing my deal. So we got to keep the gates closed.
But you had that one story you shared from a couple years ago where the guy just kind of wandered in and just started talking to you. Remember that?
Oh, no, hey, listen, it was like 7:30 in the morning, and, it's like 90, 100 degrees outside. Not yet, but it was, every bit of 85, 90. So I had the door cracked open like 2 feet because Louie and Lucy, my two dogs, they was going to the bathroom. You kind of let them in and out, take their time. And all of a sudden, I just felt and I'm sitting on the couch watching Channel 2 News, and I looked to the left, and there's this guy with 1 foot in the door of my home.
That is nuts.
I had the gates open. Made a mistake. I had the gates open down there. Guy rolled up, and bottom line was he just big fan of mine, and he said I was here to see my son in St. Louis, and he found my address, and by God, he was coming to see Kenny Wallace.
Oh, my gosh, Kenny.
By the way, you remember, Kenny, this is crazy because it's probably like almost 10 years ago now. Remember I brought little Cameron. I was in Big Brothers Big Sisters, and you were nice enough. I took Cameron out to the shop, then I took him to a dirt race as well. But he just graduated from high school last spring and is now moving into his own first apartment here in a couple of weeks. And when you met him, he was probably like 11 years old.
Well, let me just say this. There's people that talk the talk, but you walk the walk. You do it, buddy. I've seen you firsthand. I love you for doing something like that. Yeah, what a great kid. And, man, I bet he's probably a foot taller now, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he looks completely different. And I have been in communication with his mom because it's pretty exciting that he's finally, taking on your own responsibility. That's a whole new chapter in life when you get your own apartment, for sure. All right, what else is going on in your world around the holidays? How many grandkids do you have now?
I have 6. Let me back up. I want to compliment you. There's a reason you're where you're at. I listen to you every day, and you're like rapid fire. You have your questions ready, and I almost think that comes natural to you, and I just think you're that good. I'm sure you study, but like you've already probably got the next question ready for me, and even if you don't know it, you're going to have it ready. I admire you for that. That's a lot of talent.
Well,
right
I
there.
appreciate it, Kenny. It means a lot to me.
nice.
It is nice. You're too kind to me sometimes, but I do appreciate it.
Keep a conversation rolling, man. Them people are hardly finished, and you're on to the next thing. But I wanted to say that. I've been meaning to say that to you for a while. That's why you're so good. But My family is doing great. I almost feel guilty. Sometimes people say to me, what you just said, how's it going? I'm like, man, I don't want to do over. It's all so good right now. And we've got, Kim and I are doing great. Our health is good. Our 3 daughters are doing good. One is a dental hygienist in Kirkwood. The other one works for Lowe's Home Improvement on the search engine team from home. And Brandy, my middle one, she works at Tribe Salon, has her own little front room there, does color and cut. And me and Kim, we stay too busy. But these grandbabies, we got 5 girls, 1 boy, and his name's Jet. I call him Jet the Threat.
But there's only one all girls. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's a really good kid. He's a great little athlete. And got about 3 years ago, he was kind of down and out, and not in a bad way, just like I'm the only boy, and I looked at him, and I said, Jet, I said, buddy, I said, you're special. We love you. And so it's the opposite. He wanted to kind of fit. He felt like he didn't fit in because he was the only boy out of all these girls. But
my guess is Jet the Threat, when he's about 17, he's going to appreciate all those sisters, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, and everybody loves him, and everybody's treated equal. I'm big on that, but I'm a true Republican because I believe in tough love. My girls get mad at me, and I'm like, kick their ass. And they're like, Dad, I can't do that. And I'm like, yeah. So,
well, but you bring something up. I struggle with this because I feel like I was more of a disciplinarian with my boys. Now, they split time with, my ex-wife. So I wasn't the greatest father there because I wasn't with them all the time. But I feel so weak with this little girl, Kenny. I really do. Yeah. I try. I feel like I'm failing. Mom overrules me sometimes. But it's tougher to be that disciplinarian. And I think a lot of parents struggle with this. But, man, I'm a girl dad. That's why.
My father was okay.
Well, in a different era.
I hear you guys talk about that, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, because different era. Yeah. That was different. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, our fathers used to have belts that they didn't just use for holding their pants on their waist, right? Let's face it. It's different anymore, unfortunately.
No,
right?
damn it.
I didn't get the belt. I'm just saying.
Let me tell you something, man. I went all the way through the Fox C6 school district down here in Arnold, Missouri. I mean, I went through Merrimack Heights, Seckman, and I graduated 81 from Fox. And I'll never forget, I was in 7th, 8th, or 9th grade in they call it middle school now, but the principal made me pick the paddle out. And buddy, he whipped my ass so hard, but I was a good kid, but I always just aggravated the teacher because I was seeking attention like I still do. And I went in there and I knew this principal was going to paddle me. So I went in. I got to go to the bathroom, so I got some. You wash your hands and those brown paper towels.
Right.
What? I patted my butt. I pulled my pants down. I swear to God, I did. I patted my butt, pulled my pants up, and he's like, I don't know what I did wrong, but he's like, he slides this door open. Swear to God, this drawer, and all the paddles were in there.
Oh gosh.
And he told me to pick one. So my point is this. I know times are different, but even the teachers back then would whip your butt. Forget about parents. I mean, if you went to a Catholic school, they'd whip your butt. It was the way it was, man.
My daughter's in 5th grade, and I told her, you remember different things. My 5th grade teacher was Mrs. Stelzer. I remember her biting her nails all the time. But one time when we were heading out to recess or something, she grabbed me by the ear and pulled me rather hard. Now, I will tell you that I don't know exactly what I did, but I can almost guarantee you I deserve to be yanked by the ear.
Yes.
But, I mean, you do that now, man, you'd be charged with assault, right?
Yeah, back then it was physical abuse, and it was expected. I'll never forget my brother Mike, Merrimack Heights, and Mike's 4 years older than me. But I don't know, maybe I was 1st, 2nd grade. Maybe Mike was 6. But I'll never forget. I looked out. I felt so bad because I love my brothers so much, Rusty and Mike. But this teacher was trying to teach my brother a lesson. She had him cutting the grass with scissors. Oh. Never forget it as long as I live.
Like a 6th grader?
Yeah, the 5th or 6th grader. And out in the front. But, I mean, sometimes we pick on ourselves too much when really that was society, man. I mean, back then it was, as my brother Rusty would say, Herman, I love you. suggestive criticism. So he would chew my ass out and beat my ass at the same time, and I was better for it, right?
That's exactly right. Look, you're always a joy. We love you so much. It was worth it for me just to hear the story about you patting your ass with those paper towels. So this is a win on the Mark Reardon Show this afternoon. Merry Christmas to you and the whole family, Kenny.
Oh, I love you guys. Merry Christmas.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Watch out for an accident westbound 44 at Big Bend. They've got the left lane and the left shoulder blocked. 44 has been a rough go. There's a slow go behind it, and it's also slow to the west of there. Southbound 55, the slowdown there is pretty much from the 44 split down through Bates. We've got eastbound 44 jammed, headed for the Poplar Street Bridge. 6440 is jammed too, and that's near Jefferson. Westbound traffic lines up approaching Kings Highway, then it's pockets all the way out through 70. 70 westbound, slow pockets of moderate volume, headed all the way out west. And southbound 270, heaviest south of Page, down through 64, but there's some moderate volume to the south of there as well. This report is brought to you by me. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
From our family at Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation to yours. Happy holidays.
You want to hurry this up, Mark? I'm freezing my baguettes off.
Relax, Grandpa. Air Comfort Service is on their way. Aubrey, you're not doing anything. You want to let me know when they get here?
Honey, her eyes are frozen shut. Plus,
avoid a 5-alarm emergency with an HVAC system check from Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Learn more at aircomfortservice.com.
Don't you feel like you hear somebody say every now and then while you're talking about retirement, I'm not really sure how I get through this with the money I have? Of course you're not sure. I feel as though we save and we save, but there's no actual plan unless you have an expert help. That's exactly why Financial and Tax Architects was founded, FTA, and they help people all over St. Louis and Illinois and show them how to keep the money they've earned and how the money they will earn in the future can stretch through retirement. And their idea is we're going to teach you how it works. So go to a Retirement Planning 101 class that they put on. It's practical, it's one night, it's free, and you learn all kinds of things that you really need to know. They focus on education. So call FTA. 314-888-5101, 314-888-5101. Go to one of these classes and start getting a handle on retirement.
Wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
Hey guys, Ethan Hannaford, producer for The Annie Fry Show and The Mark Reardon Show here. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas season and happy holidays to you all. Thank you so much for listening on 97.1 FM Talk.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
This holiday, give the gift that lasts all season long. Cardinals ticket packs are on sale now, starting at 5, 6, and 10 games. All packs include 2026's top games and favorite giveaways. Backed by popular demand, choose from the opening day pack or the bobblehead pack. Check out the Cubs pack, weekend pack, or apparel pack. There's a pack for everyone. Find your perfect gift right now at cardinals.com/tickets.
You can feel the Clydesdales circling the field. Hear the stands come alive. Smell the hot dogs, the popcorn, and the cold beer in the air. See the crowd rise as the first pitch hits the glove. And just like that, a new season begins. This holiday season, give the gift that lets them feel it for themselves. Opening day at Busch Stadium. It's more than baseball. It's an STL tradition. Opening day tickets are on sale now at cardinals.com/tickets.
This is Ozzie Smith. I'll see you at Busch Stadium.
Hi, I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, America's largest family law firm. During this time of year, difficult relationships sometimes become impossible. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. CordellCordell.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. 600 Kelwood, St. Louis.
This holiday season, when you get them STIHL, batteries are included. Buy select battery tool sets and get a free extra battery. Visit STIHLUSA.com for gift ideas and seasonal savings. Happy holidays from STIHL. Offer valid for a limited time only at participating dealers while supplies last.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Now, I would argue that our city avoided a big catastrophe and nightmare by not reelecting Tashara Jones. We're still kind of, waiting for Kara Spencer to maybe do some bigger things to retain businesses to make sure that the downtown area is thriving. But I bring this up because, and I don't remember the last time that's happened, maybe it has, but the Washington Post editorial board suit today wrote an editorial that took out against Brandon Johnson and the city of Chicago and some of the stupid things that he's doing. In fact, they went so far as to headline it, Chicago has lost its mind. And when you look at the numbers here that you're talking about, it's the third largest city in the country, right? They say it has a history of using short-term gimmicks to paper over its problems, such as the notorious 2008 deal that sold off, I don't remember this, 75 years of future parking meter revenue for $1.5 billion, which was quickly spent. So they privatized that. The people who bought it, got a great deal. And what the Washington Post says, that should have taught local politicians a lesson that there's no substitute for serious fiscal reform. But apparently not. So the net operating budget for the city of Chicago between 2019 and 25 went up 40%. Now, some of that was subsidized by temporary pandemic money that kept the city afloat. But the problem is, and this is what happens with government, the pandemic's over, but the programs and the personnel positions are the same, and they don't have the federal funding. So he's in big trouble. So he's got a $1.15 billion shortfall. He wants to raise taxes. And one of the things that he's doing is he wants to increase the tax on the lease of personal property, like we do here. But he wants to include computers, vehicles, and software. They have something like that, I guess, for businesses. He wants to increase it from 11 to 14%. And then there's the city's head tax, all right? They call it the head tax, which would result in large employers paying $33 per worker per month. Think of it like the earnings tax here in St. Louis. And he's defending this.
There is no empirical evidence that somehow the revenue that we would generate from less than 1% of the largest corporations lead to causing harm within our job growth. Their information is wrong, but it wouldn't be the first time that a publication got something that I've done wrong.
Okay, so think about what he's saying here. We're going to charge employers. He says it's less than 0.5% or 1%, but still, let's say it's $33 per employee a month. That's going to add up very quickly. So reporters in Chicago, they start thinking, maybe we should ask a question about this. This seems like kind of a crazy thing. Like, for example, Mayor Johnson, do you have a model where this works somewhere?
So if the head tax is such a great idea, where is it working now? Because there are, what cities, who you turn to, where are you looking at and saying, wow, wish we were doing what they're doing, because I can't find one.
Well, look, if you're asking me if I believe that there is a model that's better than the city of Chicago right now, I'm going to tell you there isn't. We are setting the trend.
Oh, I know. Can you, we just had Kenny on, right? How about...
Right?
Ain't that great?
What do you think the business community in the city of Chicago thinks about this? Wait till you hear his answer on that.
Any examples of CEOs or CFOs who say, I'm on board?
Well, I don't have any examples of CEOs who are not on board.
Ah, that's his answer.
Well, can you give us an example of one that is?
Well, I mean, I guess we could draw the conclusion that all of them are, because none of them have said that they're opposed to it. Listen, I'm not going to respond to one CEO. 74, 75%, as high as 80% of Chicagoans support challenging these big corporations to pay their fair share in taxes.
Yeah, it's always the fair share in taxes. It really is. I was thinking about this today because I heard David Axelrod talking about some of the stuff on CNN that was related to Susie Wiles, and we'll talk about that a little bit here after the top of the hour with Curtis Houck. But remember, and what Axelrod was doing, he was referring to something that happened during the 80s with, I can't remember which chief of staff, David Stockman, I think it was, sort of admitting behind the scenes that supply-side economics wasn't really the gift that the Republicans were selling it as trickle down. And I've always said, I don't really care if it's trickle down. I just care that American workers who are working their asses off get more of their money. They get to keep more of their money. And these politicians, and that's why this earnings tax here in St. Louis is ridiculous. That's why Brandon Johnson, who cannot control the spending in his budget, right? There's no effort at all, like none whatsoever, to reduce spending in Chicago. It's all about confiscating more money from people who are successful, business owners and employees. That's his solution. I mean, how many swings of the bat do they need up there to realize that that city is going down the tubes very quickly?
Apparently more.
I guess so.
I hear from sellers all the time that they fear.
Apparently I hit that button too many times. Go ahead, Sue. We'll see if Ethan can get that back in.
Okay. We've got a jam on eastbound 6440 headed for the Poplar Street Bridge, and this is past Jefferson. It's just a parking lot. And then we've got westbound 44 jam downtown in front of the Arch grounds. There was an accident eastbound 44 near the 55 split. That created heavy traffic there. Southbound 55 is slow from Arsenal down through Bates. We've got volume on westbound 44. There was an accident in the left lane at Big Bend. That created a delay. The delay westbound 40 starts approaching Kings Highway and then in pockets on out through the 70 split. 70 is slow at Jennings Station Road, and even a little west of there, there's some slow-moving traffic. And southbound 270, that's pretty much slow pockets from Page down past 44. This report is brought to you by the fabulous people at the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. Check their website. They've got some extended hours during the holidays. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, I want to talk about Michael's Baths here in St. Louis. I want to be very careful because I did have a listener last week that said that at first he thought I was saying Michael's Bass, which is completely different. Although I wouldn't mind fishing, and I love fishing for largemouth and smallmouth bass, but this is baths, like bathrooms, and all they do is baths, which is awesome. I've gotten a chance to know the team here in the last 8 months. They do great work here in St. Louis. They don't play the traffic sounder accidentally like I do, so I got to stop that. But if you have a shower and a bath that's outdated, wasting space, maybe not safe enough as family members get older, Michael's Baths is going to come in 30 to 50% less than the competition with great products and a great team. Tony and Mark, the installers, have been with Mike and his family for 10 plus years. Mike Gower is the owner. His daughter Melody is going to answer your phone call. So maybe you need a walk-in shower, better storage, maybe a fresh modern look. They make it very simple, clean, and budget-friendly. That's very important. And right now, if you mention my name or 97.1 FM Talk, they're offering you a free shower door or $500 off your project. So they have great products like Central and Moen, companies that you would know that are backed with a lifetime warranty. They have 5-star reviews and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and all they do is bathrooms. They do a great job here in St. Louis. The website has everything you need to know. It's Michael's Baths, BATHS, not BASS.com, 636-775-0800, michaelsbaths.com. Tell them that we sent you along.
I hear from sellers all the time that they fear they have missed out on the selling market. They are so relieved to learn September, October, and November are strong selling months. With low inventory and hopefully lower interest rates, this fall will be a hot one for real estate. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. You may have heard me say, why pay more than 4 for years? Now it's why pay more than 2, saving you even more money. Call me 314-441-4444. And remember, why pay more than 2?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri, Kansas, and Nevada.
250 years ago, a promise was made to connect families and friends near and far. And during the holidays, that promise is more important than ever. That's why USPS is building a better network to meet your needs with timely deliveries, easy and affordable ways to ship, and everything you need to make your season full of holiday cheer. Our purpose is delivering your peace of mind, knowing your love will arrive, bringing joy to all. The United States Postal Service. Learn more at USPS.com/holidays.
The team at Ricken Financial want to help you make educated and informed decisions about your retirement strategies.
Why not rely on individuals who can optimize your thinking and optimize your plan and optimize all the resources and show you what's all available to be able to make a truly informed decision?
Call Ricken Financial today, 314-207-6211, or online at rickenfinancial.com, and join us for Kickin' with the Rickens, Sunday at 1 p.m. here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
This is a Fox News alert. A Hollywood tragedy. I'm Tom Graham. Charges announced against Nick Reiner. He's accused of murdering his parents, Rob and Michelle Reiner. Los Angeles prosecutor Nathan Hockman.
2 counts of first-degree murder with the special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife.
Nick is being represented by famed defense attorney Alan Jackson, who did represent Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey. A manhunt continues for the gunman who opened fire at Brown University over the weekend.
Providence, Rhode Island police releasing that new image of the person of interest. It's not very clear, but any clue helps because, yes, it's an urgent manhunt. It shows the man described as about 5 feet 8 inches with a stocky build. The photo is grainy, but it's another shot of his two-toned dark jacket and surgical mask and what looks like a crossbody bag. Other images show the person wandering in the College Hill neighborhood about 2 hours before the shooting.
Fox's CB Cotton there. A demand for answers after a mass shooting during a Hanukkah celebration in Australia. At least 15 people are dead.
Police continue to investigate the anti-Semitic terrorist attack in Sydney, Australia over the weekend that left 15 people dead. A newly released dashcam video giving new insight into the initial moments of this attack when the 2 gunmen arrive in a small car that had an ISIS flag draped across the windshield. An elderly couple heroically tries to stop them, with the man identified as Boris Gurman wrestling one of the terrorists to the ground. Shortly after, Boris and his wife Sophia are shot dead. In another act of bravery, local shop owner Ahmed Al-Ahmed pulled the gun away from the older assailant. Ahmed is now recovering in the hospital after being wounded and was visited by Australia's Prime Minister. More than 20 people remain hospitalized following the attack, with many still in critical condition.
Fox's Trey Yanks. America is listening to Fox News.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Ultra, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Ultra helps Mike fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs, so he can wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Oh, just great temperatures this afternoon around town, and we will drop out of the 50s and into the mid to upper 40s fairly quickly this evening. Some clouds around tonight and 35 for the low. Wednesday, let's do it again. Mostly sunny skies. Temperatures much like today. 55 for the high. Fast warm-up after the morning chill. Wednesday night, the clouds sweep in 45, and Thursday, clouds, periods of rain. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
So I read this piece. I never got to it yesterday from Juan Williams. You know, he's on the Fox, desk every once in a while. He's a bit of a, he's not a whacked out liberal. Juan's been around for a long time. I don't even know how to better describe him, but he wrote a piece for The Hill about something that he had written about, and he started getting all these, reactions on Twitter. And I experience this every once in a while too, not to the level that he does. He has a lot more followers. But one of the questions that he asked when he started seeing some of the nasty responses was, hey, where are these coming from, and are these even real? And some of the research he did, and George Rosenthal from Throttle is going to join us, because these things are very sophisticated. And a lot of the things where people are saying, they're commenting about U.S. politics and Trump and all this stuff, they're located in Asia or in Russia or in other places. So I think it's different a little than just bots. I'm not exactly sure, but we're going to find out here at the bottom of the hour. So I opened the show talking about this Susie Wiles piece that was in Vanity Fair. Most of you probably don't even know her name. She is the White House Chief of Staff. She's a little shy when it comes to the cameras. The night that Trump won last year, it was like 2 a.m. when he made his acceptance speech, and he tried to bring Susie on stage, and she did, and she smiled, and she was really shy. So for the most part, you don't know what she's doing behind the scenes. People know who she is on the Hill. But she decided to do an interview with a guy by the name of Chris Whipple from Vanity Fair, and it came out today. The first part did. And there were a lot of things that we believe were taken out of context. Here's Carolyn Levitt earlier today.
Well, look, I would just echo my boss, Susie Wiles, who is the best chief of staff in our nation's history, working for the greatest president in our nation's history, and that this was, unfortunately, another attempt at fake news by a reporter who was acting disingenuously and really did take the chief's words out of context. But I think most importantly, the bias of omission was ever present throughout this story. The reporter omitted all of the positive things that Susie and our team said about the president and the inner workings of the White House.
So that's a very important point right there. I talk about this all the time, and I have for decades, that it's the, this journalistic malpractice, sin of omission, where they're going to tell you some of the story, like J.D. Vance is a conspiracy theorist, but what was the context of that?
Susie said today, it's deeply unfortunate that happened, but it won't distract us from making America great again. And President Trump has been such a productive president and has accomplished more in 11 months than most presidents do in 8 years because of his vision and his tenacity, which is executed on and facilitated by our great White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, whom I'm very proud of to call a boss and a mentor and a friend.
So here's what I can tell you might happen in about an hour when I hit the road. All right, I'm going to get in my car, nothing against Jimmy Fallon, but I'm going to check out Laura's show on SiriusXM, and then I'm going to pop over to Aaron Burnett on CNN. And I can almost guarantee you that Laura's show will have something about this being a hit piece, right? And CNN will gleefully talk about all the different pieces in here because I heard them do that earlier today. Curtis Houck is here, managing editor of Newsbusters at the Media Research Center. How are you, Curtis? Here we go again. I don't know why she did this interview, though. That's the thing. Why do this with Vanity Fair?
Right.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing where I'm so glad to work for a place like Newsbusters, where I'm not particularly tied to the administration. I've never gotten asked to do the new media seat or anything like that. I don't plan to. I know people in the White House press corps, but I'm not friends with them. We're willing to criticize anybody. We've criticized Barry Weiss at CBS, even though I like her a lot, that kind of thing. But anyway, your point is exactly correct. Why did you do this? This is 11 interviews? 11 interviews.
Well, the reason it was, let's put that in context a little bit, because if you read the piece, what they did is they went to different dates in the administration that may or may not be significant. So he was with her at key moments during, things that happened. And I guess that's where you get that number of 11, because it took part in, a long period of time. Now, I had Cassie Smedile on, who is a former RNC spokesman, and one of the things that she said is, think about context. You're talking about Elon Musk. You're making comments about USAID. You're doing that 9 months ago. Well, some of the narratives have changed since then, and then there's no qualification in the context of Whipple's story, which is pretty typical for the legacy media.
Correct, exactly. And, I had a conversation with Dr. Drew last week just about this very subject, that you would think with print, because it's not constrained to, especially a TV newscast where a segment or news segment, a serious news segment, might be only 2 or 3 minutes. And you have much more space. You can have thousands and thousands of words, especially at a place like Vanity Fair, the New York Times Magazine. But the disinformation and the bias by omission is just as prevalent, if not worse, because so often with print, you guys know this, you when you're in a story, even on radio and TV, you try to get more than you need in order to write a story, because nothing's worse than having to go back to a subject or thinking, I don't have enough information here to do a story that really needs to get done. But at the same time, you're not showing the kinds of things, as Caroline is alluding to here, the praise for the president or the administration, or maybe some of the arguments back and forth that they may have gotten into with Whipple, which is why it's always important to now tape these interviews on your own end. The president did this as well with 60 Minutes, as we saw in the 2020 election. Now we're going to find out Chris Whipple is going to be on with Anderson Cooper tonight.
Well, there you go.
So
of course.
We'll see if he brings
tapes.
Because Peter Baker of the New York Times is alleging that he taped these interviews just like, Bob Woodward and Donald Trump. And we'll find out.
Well, and I don't think, here's what I said earlier. I think you agree. This isn't the worst, piece on Susie Wiles you could ever imagine. But what they're doing is they're going to cherry pick the stuff that makes Trump look bad or other members of the administration, when in fact that was not what she was ever saying. And I think that we would know that. Now, if this was a Democrat behind the scenes, even if it was a woman president, you'd have this glowing Vanity Fair profile with how she's a powerful woman doing things, knocking down the glass ceiling, all that stuff. But that's not what's here. This is, where's this devious woman and why is she part of the Trump administration doing this stuff with a crazy conspiracy theorist like J.D. Vance? And then they quote an unnamed Republican source that says this and that. And that's what they do.
Right. Whereas in this case, I mean, a lot of it's on the record. It's not really anonymous sourcing here because so many people participated on the record. However, you still then get the point where things are cherry picked, except you kind of know who it is at this point. Whereas, anonymous sources, you at least can speculate someone may have an axe to grind. And you're exactly right. Unfortunately, the world that we live in, how busy people are. I read the stories and, Susie actually comes out quite well. She's smart. She's sophisticated. The president trusts her. Yes, she's probably said a lot of these things in the moment that maybe a lot of people were thinking but didn't want to say. So of course, it's going to open herself up to this kind of criticism. But at the same time, if only folks had more time to kind of read this versus the, 600 or 800 word summary from Peter Baker, who's literally one of the worst print reporters out there right now. Such a virulent hatred of the administration. More people are going to read that, Mark, than they're going to read the Vanity Fair.
And let me give an example of Peter Baker and what he does. And I guess maybe this is on Whipple, too. So there's a part of the story where, and by the way, there's members of the cabinet administration, including Marco Rubio, that are pictured for the Vanity Fair cover in the story, right? So what they recount, and I guess what Whipple says is Marco Rubio told Whipple that he has said publicly that if J.D. Vance runs for president, he's going to be our nominee and I'll be the first person to support him. And then the next line is still the underlying tension came through when Mr. Vance posed for the magazine's photographer. And this is the quote, "I'll give you $100 for every person you make look really blanky compared to me and $1,000 if it's Marco." Now, clearly that was a joke. J.D. Vance has a sense of humor. There's no doubt. He said that in front of Marco Rubio. But they make it seem like it's some devious plot that J.D. Vance is out to the underlying tension. He was flippin' joking.
It's bros. They're just, beefing. They're riffing on each other. They're ribbing each other. I mean, come on.
It's unbelievable.
This is the kind of like inside joke, bromance kind of thing that people just don't understand. The president himself has talked all the time about, well, it could be Vance Rubio. Wouldn't that be the best thing ever? He's done that bit. So if the president has making that repeated comments about that, then I don't really think there's anything to worry about here. I mean, if there was tension between the vice president and the secretary of state, put it this way, Mark, the president would not be giving Marco Rubio 10 different jobs if he and the vice president were having problems.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. All right, you mentioned Curtis Houck, Barry Weiss at the beginning of this. We've been kind of waiting to see exactly how is she going to reshape CBS News, having taken that department over when, CBS acquired the Free Press. So, there's been a lot of things that have not happened. And then Tony DeCopel gets named CBS Evening News last week. I'll get your thoughts on that. But Barry Weiss goes on. This was very unique because it's something that would normally occur on Fox, but she does this town hall meeting on Saturday night with Erica Kirk. And this was one of the people, and she sets this up, that was asking a question of Erica Kirk.
Erica, as you know, the last person that Charlie ever spoke to was a Utah Valley student named Hunter Kozak. He was asking Charlie a question that day when he was shot, and he's here tonight, and he wants to ask you a question.
So Erica Kirk at that time is wiping tears from her eyes because of the previous question, and this guy gets up there, and he's somewhat respectful.
I want to tell you how much I appreciate your calls for peace and unity, and I'm likewise horrified by the people in my so-called camp who were cheering about Charlie's murder. I believe that they stoke the flames of violence. But even worse is when powerful, influential people on either side of the aisle stoke the flames. When they do it, the flames can become an inferno. And this leads me to Donald Trump, the most powerful and influential person on earth, who has more responsibility than anyone else to put the flames out. Just last month, President Trump called on 6 Democratic lawmakers to be tried for sedition, which he clarified was punishable by death. He then reposted a simple message: hang them. I think that you've been making strides to bring peace to our country, and that turning point has been asking Democrats to decry the individuals who cheer for violence. I have and will continue to decry them.
So he asked her for her response. She gave her response. I'm not sure that it was, I think she was caught off guard. Did you think that that was an unfair moment to pop that person on in the middle of this, town hall with Barry Weiss the other night on CBS?
Well, I think, first of all, let's work this way through. The presence of this individual, that's a made-for-TV moment.
Right.
So I'm not entirely surprised that, CNN or Fox had done that they may have at least explored doing that by bringing that guy in. Because I think a lot of people on the right are upset that the person was even there. And I think that's just unfair.
I don't have a big problem
Number
with
two,
it either. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I don't either.
Right.
Number two, you get to the content of it, and what he said there. That's standard Democrat Party lines. It's very disingenuous to talk about the seditious six in that context. However, the reality is, I wouldn't have said what the president says, but I think people understand who the president is at this point. So I don't think that kind of apples to apples comparison is really warranted or accurate. But I really liked her answer, and this was a theme throughout the town hall, which was, it is on all of us individually about how we treat each other and how we talk about politics and how we spend time with our loved ones and that we take care of each other. I thought that was such a good point, that the focus, a lot of liberals may, or even some, conservatives may say, well, what about the president? Well, what about this elected official? And she's like, okay, yes, but it starts with us. And I think that's just such a great approach, because how can we change the country if we're not willing to look at ourselves first? I just thought that was so
absolutely
good.
Yeah. Well,
and Barry Weiss said that as well.
I think she was being careful too. She didn't want to, I think sometimes in a question like that, you could see her kind of going through the motions of being a little careful on how she answered the question. But that kind of brings us to, 2 days later, when the president makes a Truth Social post about Rob Reiner that a lot of people, even his supporters, didn't like very much. And I guess what I've said about that is, I wish you wouldn't have said that, Curtis. I really do. I think it was inappropriate. No. But I've been saying this for 10 years about the president kind of holding back on those thoughts. He's not going to change, and I don't know that this is going to move the needle one way or the other. However, my concern from a macro political standpoint is you've already alienated a lot of white suburban, whatever you want to call the educated voters in the suburbs, right? They've swung to the left. You've alienated them enough. Do you really want to alienate more of them heading into the midterms? And that's where my answer would be no. Let's use a little, discipline. My guess is Susie Wiles wasn't too crazy about that Truth Social post. That's just a guess.
No, I think that's probably a safe bet. I would not have done that. I thought it was really awful and unprofessional, but and unbecoming of any elected official, and disgraceful. But this is who the president is, and he definitely is right to have those feelings about Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner. If you go to the Newsbusters archives, you put his name in, you're going to find all kinds of articles. He's been in our notable quotables about crazy celebrities. Every year.
He's a Hall of Fame Trump derangement syndrome. Absolutely.
Hall of Famer.
But then you can maybe just say nothing.
We see all the time. Yeah, but you also say nothing, and you juxtapose that to what he said after Charlie Kirk's assassination, denouncing that kind of thing and saying that this is not how we should, resolve our political differences. And it seemed very genuine and sincere. So, Andrew Clovet, Turning Point, said he was very touched by that kind of thing. I understand where people are coming from, the Jack Posobics and the Kurt Schlichters out there saying, people on the left, they want us dead and this is war. But I think, yes, we should have a big tent, but if the tent has no walls, has no, is open on all sides and has no ceiling, then kind of what are we doing here? There's no tent to begin with.
I'm with you on that. Curtis Houck, thank you so much for all the contributions this past year. Going to take a little time off at the end of the year. We'll circle back around in 2026. Have a great Christmas. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All
Same
right.
to you. Thank you for all you guys do.
I love you. Newsbusters, Media Research Center.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident northbound 67 at 270, which of course is Lindbergh. and they are saying that all lanes are closed. We've also, that one
6-7. Sorry, I had to throw it in there. I had to do a 6-7. Well, you set me up.
Well, I did. And there's a vehicle fire westbound 44 all the way out at Union, but just before there. Look for that on the right shoulder. So some issues tonight. If you're leaving downtown on westbound 70, pockets of moderate volume that start near Jennings Station Road out through Wentzville. 64 is a mess. It's jammed before you even get to Kings Highway, and then in pockets out through 70. And eastbound is almost, well, we'll call it west of Jefferson, but it's jammed all the way to the Poplar. 44 westbound slowing in front of the Arch grounds. 44 eastbound is jammed, headed for the Poplar. We've got southbound 55 with slow pockets too, and that's near Arsenal down through the Bates area. And then northbound 270 is a little bit slow at Ladue Road. Of course, it's southbound that has slow pockets from Page down through Gravois. This report is brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, maybe you're thinking about coming downtown. You have a little business meeting. You want to see some friends before the end of the year. Go downtown to the Missouri Athletic Club and check out the Jack Buck Grill and some of the great specials that they have. They're introducing some new items as we head into the weekend, whether it's for lunch or for dinner. They have a New Year's Eve party at the Jack Buck Grill downtown, which a lot of people participate in. Of course, you got to register for that, and there is a fee. There's all kinds of things as we kind of turn the calendar from December into January that happen at both the West location and the downtown location of the Missouri Athletic Club. We're also in the process of picking a couple of new charities for the next year because we have what's called the Sports Foundation, and there's some things that relate to philanthropy here in St. Louis. One of the reasons that I got involved with the MAC is because they do so much great stuff for the city of St. Louis, and we recognize that government can't solve all these problems. You need generous people as part of a great group like the MAC to get together and make some donations that really change lives here in St. Louis. You can always find out more about the Missouri Athletic Club, both locations, downtown and out west, at mac-stl.org.
Tired of mice? Point Pest Control finds their entry points, eliminates the infestation, and seals them out for good with our exclusion services. Mention Annie to get 10% off on top of any other special. Call 636-798-0023. Visit Point with an E, pointpestcontrol.com.
New tax resolution firms are popping up every day with high-paid celebrity endorsers, advertising ridiculous claims in their TV ads. That's why they have the tiny, unreadable disclaimers at the bottom of the screen. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. Our ads never have those ridiculous, fast-talking, tiny disclaimers at the end because, simply put, there are no guarantees when it comes to the IRS and wiping out tax bills. And we don't make promises we can't keep. Of course, there are ways the Lance Drury Law Firm can help resolve your tax debt, but no company can guarantee it will eliminate it. This is why their clients call the Lance Drury Law Firm when those promises don't pan out. If you have tax problems, you have legal problems, call me, Lance Drury in St. Louis, at 314-260-6120 or visit Lance, D-R-U-R-Y, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hey, Jeff, looks like your business is really booming, even in a tough time for businesses like ours.
Hey, Mike. Yeah, thanks to LendSeek, our business was able to take care of some outstanding bills and taxes and to purchase inventory and expand our product lines.
Wow. You know, my business needs working capital, but only from a reputable company that I can trust and count on. How does LendSeek work?
Fast and easy. Just apply at lendseek.com. Their AI lending platform gave my business access to over 100 funding programs with one simple application. And it costs nothing to apply.
At lendseek.com, you can receive business funding with no collateral, no prepayment penalties, and no restrictions on how you use the funds. Whatever your funding needs are, seek no more. Our AI lending marketplace has you covered. If you've been in business at least 1 year with annual revenue of at least $250,000, you could get the funding your business needs in as little as 24 hours. There's no obligation, so apply today at lendseek.com. That's LENDSEEK.com.
Hey guys, Glover here with my very, very good friend, Dr. Kathy Maupin at BioBalanceHealth.com. If you have reached that certain age and you're just not feeling very well and nothing's working the way it used to work, go see Dr. Kathy. She is not only a medical medical doctor. She is a patient of this bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. It absolutely works. It's a long-term solution. She is an artist when it comes to helping you with your hormones. BioBalanceHealth.com for Dr. Kathy Maupin.
Bold conversations, no apologies. The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
One of the many roles that Fred Bottomer has here, outside of being my executive producer, is he's been for decades the religion editor at KMOX. And you mentioned something to me a little earlier this afternoon, Fred, that Cardinal Dolan is resigning in New York City. And that caught me off guard as someone who doesn't follow this stuff. But there's a good reason why he is resigning. And I guess Pope Leo is going to accept his resignation, right?
Yeah, that's what we're hearing. Lots of rumors this week that some announcement should be coming in the next couple of days from the Vatican that Pope Leo will accept the resignation of Cardinal Timothy Dolan, a native of St. Louis, because when you turn 75 and you're a bishop, you mandatorily have to submit your letter for resignation.
And I didn't remember
to the
that.
Vatican.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so every cardinal or archbishop, when they hit 75 or bishop, has to turn in a resignation letter, and then it's up to the Pope for when to decide to accept it. And it sounds like that decision could be coming within the next couple of days. And when you accept the decision to resign, then the Pope will name a successor. And right now, a lot of rumors are flying over possible successors. And it looks like the leading choice right now, a lot of people are confirming it, but nothing's confirmed until it comes from the Vatican, is the Bishop of Joliet, Illinois.
That's what I'm seeing.
Bishop Ron Hicks,
right,
who's 58 years old. He's a native of Harvey, Illinois. And Pope Leo, keep in mind, is a native of Chicago, Illinois.
So there's some things, though, here we got to figure out, Fred. And I hope that Pope Leo is considering
I do know
this
the answers.
Because, look, we got a cardinal, who's a cardinal? Dolan's a Cardinals fan, right?
Right.
We got Pope Leo's a White Sox fan, right?
And
this
Bishop
guy
Hicks is a diehard Cubs
Oh, my
fan.
goodness. See, this needs to be discussed, right? I don't know if I like that, but
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah.
You know, we were picking out, Ethan and I were picking out some stuff for next week that we want to play on Monday and Tuesday. We're going to play some best ofs, mainly because Fred's not here and we have to get guests.
No.
I'm going to mail it in. But that great conversation we had with Bill DeWitt III a few weeks ago on his trip to meet Pope Leo. We're going to play that because that was just a great, great conversation.
That's
so
right.
And
he spent a lot of time talking to the Pope and said, inviting him to St. Louis if he does a papal visit to St. Louis, to do it in Busch Stadium. And then he gave Pope Leo a Cardinals jersey
right.
with his name on the back of it.
So were you saying that this changing of the guard was supposed to happen sooner?
Well, he turned 7. Well, he submitted his resignation to Pope Francis. He was appointed by Pope Benedict in 2009 as the Archbishop of New York. And in this past February, after he turned 75, he turned in his letter of resignation. And it's up to the Pope to decide when they'll accept it.
Yeah.
And so Pope Francis didn't do anything, and now Pope Leo has accepted it, or is apparently going to accept it, and we'll find out maybe on Thursday about the decision.
All right, so we have George Rosenthal from Throttle Night coming up here in a couple of minutes, but I did want to get a little audio in here from J.D. Vance, because when the Susie Wiles story comes out today, one of the quotes that is in this piece in Vanity Fair is that, and it's just kind of tossed in here with no context whatsoever, is that J.D. Vance has been a conspiracy theorist for 10 years. Well, there's no qualification of that in the Vanity Fair piece, so you don't know what she was framing that around, but it gets dangled out there, and of course that becomes a talking point, and it goes wild on social media. So J.D. Vance addressed this today, actually.
Sometimes I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true. And by the way, Susie and I have joked in private and in public about that for a long time. For example, I believed in the crazy conspiracy theory back in 2020 that it was stupid to mask 3-year-olds at the height of the COVID pandemic, that we should actually let them develop some language skills. I believed in this crazy conspiracy theory that the media and the government were covering up the fact that Joe Biden was clearly unable to do the job. And I believed in the conspiracy theory that Joe Biden was trying to throw his political opponents in jail rather than win an argument against his political opponents. So At least on some of these conspiracy theories, it turns out that a conspiracy theory is just something that was true 6 months before the media admitted it.
You know, that's very well done by J.D. Vance. And then he told this funny story about the president. And there's a lot of funny stories about the president.
I'll tell you a little story. Actually a week or so ago, I walk into the Oval Office, and Marco and I are sitting there talking with the president about something. He says, "Stop." And he looks at our shoes and says, "You guys have terrible shoes." So he goes and gets a shoe catalog. And remember, this is the Christmas season, so the president's got some holiday cheer. He goes and gets a shoe catalog and gets his favorite shoes and orders like 4 pairs of shoes for me and 4 pairs of shoes for Marco, because he's like, we need our vice president or secretary of state to look their very best. And, then we went back to talking about whatever major, international issue we were talking about. Again, he is exactly in private who he is in public. That's not true of most people in Washington, D.C.
I would say that is exactly not true of most people in Washington, D.C. It is true of my friend, Senator Eric Schmidt, which is one of the reasons I like him so much, because he keeps it real. And it's one of the reasons I think Senator Schmidt has such a good relationship with the vice president and the president. But I love that. That was a great story. It's so Trump-like, right? I mean, let's juxtapose it with the angry tweet about Rob Reiner. That's what he is, too. But you can totally see him doing that, looking down saying, you guys need some new shoes, and then just order them up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, on the roads tonight, it really has been a mess. If you are headed into Illinois on the Poplar Street Bridge, 64 is just jammed before you even get to Jefferson to the bridge. Once you're on the Poplar, it's just moderate volume. Then we had an accident, and it caused a delay on eastbound 44 trying to make the merge with 55 headed for the bridge. Now an accident reported southbound 55, and that's south of Broadway, causing a delay. A little bit slow further south, too. And we've got westbound 40. This is essentially slow pockets approaching Kings Highway out through 70. Eastbound has slow pockets approaching Mason through Big Bend. And 70 westbound, moderate volume in pockets out of downtown. Southbound 270, the volume there is mainly Page down through Gravois. And other than that, we're okay. We're fine through North County, as usual. That's some good news. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. And 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative brings it to you.
Let's talk about real estate, because I've said this before, that conventional wisdom would be, okay, we're going to sell our house. Let's wait until after the holidays, right? We don't do it during the holidays because no one's in a buying mood. That is not true. People are in a buying mood if they want the right house, and there's still a major issue with supply and demand. The Gelman team of eXp Realty here in St. Louis can help you through that. They can help you kind of navigate the difficult waters of home selling, and they can get you top dollar and maybe still above asking price. That is not coming automatically these days, and Mark and Neil will be honest with you about that. You may have to shift a little of your philosophy, maybe stage your home. They're going to offer you advice. If you take it, you might get top dollar. If you want an instant cash offer, well, they have that for you as well. They also have an awesome tool on their website, and it's just a button that you can press, and it says, what is the real current value of your home? You enter some information, you can check the price. It's a very accurate price in today's market, and you can get that for free. Check out the Gelmans with eXp Realty here in St. Louis at thegelmanteam.com.
License number E2014A.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Grandpa had a soft spot for dogs.
Yeah, he always had treats in his pocket.
He said if you're going to take care of people, you better take care of their best friends too.
Is that why we help dog shelters?
That's right. For every service call, we donate 10 pounds of dog food to local dog shelters, helping dogs waiting for a home.
Grandpa would like that.
He sure would.
Green is always grasser at grasserhomeservices.com.
250 years ago, a promise was made to connect families and friends near and far. And during the holidays, that promise is more important than ever. That's why USPS is building a better network to meet your needs, with timely deliveries, easy and affordable ways to ship, and everything you need to make your season full of holiday cheer. Our purpose is delivering your peace of mind, knowing your love will arrive, bringing joy to all. The United States Postal Service. Learn more at USPS.com/holidays.
The ACA Marketplace has announced significant increases on their monthly premiums for 2026, with deductibles over $10,000. You can enroll with Greg Hammond's Freedom of Choice plans now. You don't have to wait. One of their plans lets you use any doctor, has zero outpatient deductibles, and it's 30 to 60% lower costs than most Obamacare plans. Other options are full coverage PPOs with national networks. copays, and 100% annual preventative care. Also, there's no income disclosure required, so no potential tax penalties. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg and they'll provide all available options. Call 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan managed and chosen by you, not the government.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Your voice, your values. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
I read an interesting story. I'm going to welcome George Rosenthal into the fray in a moment, but let me set this up because Juan Williams, who is a Fox contributor, he's not, conservative. He's always been kind of one of the Democrats on CNN and on Fox. Every once in a while he's on the 5 and shows like that. So he says this, and this was written in a publication called The Hill at thehill.com. And that's not a conservative publication, but that doesn't really matter here because it's about something a little different. He says, last week I did something stupid. I looked at the comments section around columns I had written about NASA astronaut Chris Williams' thrilling launch into outer space. The columns told of my pride in a family member's stunning achievement. Most people responded with warmth and congratulations, including readers who disagree with my politics but felt the emotional power of the moment, right? And then came a wave of vitriol. It emerged from social media accounts built to spew bile, attacking me for things unrelated to the piece or my family or even reality. I mentioned this to a friend who asked, hey, Juan, how many of those commentators are even real people? And he said, good question. And the reveal in here is quite interesting. And this is where I'll welcome our friend from Throttle It In, George Rosenthal, this afternoon. How are you, George? Always great to hook up with you.
Great to talk to you as well. Thanks so much for having me.
So what he realized here is that he did a little digging and figured out that there is a new feature on X, which is called About This Account. And I guess you can look into where some of these things are coming from. And a lot of the America First and the Patriotic Voice accounts with big followings were operating out of Asia. And some of them were operating out of, Eastern Europe and some in Russia. So these aren't exactly bots, though, are they? Is it something different than bots, or is that what it is?
Yeah, well, it's a combination. So, yes, it's bots. A lot of it is artificial intelligence, and it is perpetrated by human beings. So they will set up bots and artificial intelligence to go out and just start making comments to persuade people or start trouble. And this we're seeing more and more of. And I know there was a conspiracy back in 2016 about the election and Russian interference and yada, yada. But I really do think now where we are in 2025, about to be 26, with artificial intelligence getting it as advanced as it is, I think it's going to be a serious problem. It's starting to influence so many people that really don't check up on the news. They don't double check on what they're reading to make sure that it's even true, and they just read it as gospel. And it could be anything from hate speech to anti-Semitism to things that basically where we've seen where China is involved with trying to make the economy look even worse than it is to persuade the government to stop and slow down tariffs or any type of infringements on their economy. So if they're using this as propaganda, and people that are following it are can fall for it if they do research. And, here's the thing. We're running up against an election, and we're in Christmas time, I know, but November is going to be here before you know it.
Oh, it will be. No, I know.
It's going to be here quick. So that's something we all have to be aware of, because you're going to see more and more of this. And I know, just going down the trolling dark tunnels of social media, you'll see videos that have a little watermark that says Sora, S-O-R-A. That is an artificial intelligence video generator. But a lot of these videos don't have the watermark. And you cannot tell. You cannot tell what's real and what's not real. It is crazy.
I'm finding myself every day when I look at audio, and when I send it to Fred and Ethan, we have to look closer because I'm very suspicious. And even being very suspicious and on the outlook for it, I still fall for some of these.
Me too.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, and be careful. If you are on social media, God help you if you read the comments. I feel so sorry for you. Just don't do it. You're going to ruin your life. You're going to ruin your day, because most of this stuff is trolls that aren't even, that may be real, but a lot of it's not even real people. They're just out there using artificial intelligence to go out and say, write as many bad comments on this post as you can using any type of Gmail accounts that you can do, or however many fake email addresses that it can go out and make. It's got to, and the other thing too is the influence on children that this is having that we had talked about in the past. But after our last talk, I talked really in depth with my kids right as soon as I hung up the phone with you guys about making sure that anything they put on the internet will be there forever and will be altered by your enemies, by artificial intelligence tools to do you harm. So yes, I think there's going to be a lot of election interference, not in the voting. I think there's going to be a lot of persuasion in people's ideas, the news that's out there to try and change just a little nuance to make them maybe vote different. I think there's targeted toward college kids because those are the future voters of America. That's what's really happening. I think they're going to start working on the minds of the youth, the 8th, 9th graders, to start to get them to where future elections start to happen, because they can put out these messages. I mean, look at the rise in anti-Semitism. Yeah. I mean, these young children had to have learned this from somewhere. This didn't just pop up in the last 15 years. So where's this all coming from when this wasn't around 20 years ago?
Well, I would say the question now is, well, where is this all going to take us? Because one of the things that Juan Williams says in his piece is like, we're closer to the point of no return than anyone wants to admit. And you and I and Sue and Fred, we've had these discussions for the past several years, and a lot of them are focused on this very issue. And I said this, I think I said it on the air and to some friends last week. I talked about it. I'm like, half the time I talk to you, I'm like so inspired, George, by all the crazy stuff and the possibilities. And then the other half, you scare the hell out of me. And I'm like, oh my God, what are we doing to our kids and all this stuff? Because the previous conversation that he's referring to is one we had last week on the social media ban for Australia. And, we talked about that in depth. And you said, look, you have images out there. If these kids have images out there, they could be altered. They could be used in the future against you. So you have to be careful.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I like Elon Musk in a lot of different ways. But one thing he has to be careful with, he's out there talking about these things, about open free speech and how X is a completely open platform. But on the opposite side of his mouth, he's running Grok, which I'm able to do a lot of really bad things and post it on X. And I need to know that that's being policed. How is X, even though it's an open platform, and I'm all for free speech, but free speech is not AI creating things on its own. And that's where it's going to get. And so where AI is creating bad things because it thinks that's the way the country needs to move in, on its own, it will start to think that. So when it does that, it reaches artificial general intelligence and starts to create its own content based on where it thinks we should be. How do you police that? So that's something that social media platforms across the board have to really keep an eye on. As AI gets smarter, how do they control the messaging?
I'm not a huge fan of Tom Friedman, but he's mentioned in this piece by Juan Williams because he says Tom Friedman at the New York Times recently said, we are not divided. We are being divided by companies for profit. And that's kind of hard to argue against.
Absolutely. I would 100% agree with you. Right now, it's a total fight for profit in artificial intelligence, and that is the future. It's all based on that right now. When you have a fight between so many different platforms of AI, I think that's the new war that we're all going to be under. And what kind of content are you going to be receiving and taking into your household every day? What are you going to allow your kids to read? What are you going to read that's going to influence you in the next 5 years? You may change a lot of your opinions based on what you're seeing over and over again by swiping up and down on the YouTube shorts or the Facebook shorts. How much of what you're looking at is real? And how much of it's changing your mind over the next 72 months? It's crazy to think about, but everybody needs to be aware of it. Right now, they have no controls over this stuff, and it's not regulated. It's extremely crazy. It's the Wild West when it comes to ideas and content. And everybody just needs to have a clear understanding of what they're looking at and just assume that most of it's fake.
Well, I want to go back to something that you said because you were talking about a tweet or something that comes by, people see it, and then it it's not true or it's manipulated or whatever, but they won't take time to realize that, or they'll spread it. That's part of Juan's point is, something goes out there from an account that's got 400,000 followers. One of these is called like MAGA Nation, and it's being run literally out of Eastern Asia. So what the hell, or Eastern Europe. So what the hell is that all about, right? So look, right. I get worried because I know, I'll use my wife as an example, not to throw her under the bus, but she has, and I've spoken about this, she's gotten a lot more interested in, we've been together for 23 years, right? But she really got fired up in the last couple of years coming out of the pandemic and some of the nonsense with politics and the border. I think the border really got her attention. So she's paying a lot more attention to the news and watching Fox. And I come up at night and she's got Gutfeld on, and I'd rather turn politics off. But she will see things a lot on social media, on Twitter in particular, and she'll send them to me, and sometimes they're just not true. So there are a lot of people out there that see things, and it could be something that's not true.
Right.
Or, again, we just talked about this with Curtis Houck, could just be lacking context, right? But who wants to spend time when you're scrolling through, reel after reel? Who needs context?
Right.
George, that's so old school context. We don't need that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and imagine, the kids, and I don't mean like 12-year-olds. I mean like 18, 19, 20-year-olds who have the attention span of a gnat. How in the world are you going to capture their attention to tell them what's real and what's not? And so it's going to be extremely hard to control that reality of what is real and true versus what is not. And it's amazing to see the owners, Zuckerberg and Elon, get out there and say, oh, we need to protect. But at the same time, they're doing this stuff and not protecting. They're not looking at any of this stuff. They're not forcing it to where you have to be 16 years old or older to have a social media account. Thankfully, YouTube forces you to at least be 13 to have a YouTube channel. But if you don't show your face, they don't know that you're not 13.
Right.
How do they police that to make sure that someone's not 11 or 12 on there?
That's it. Well, so if you do show your face on YouTube, they do have facial recognition and scanners that will pull that up and say, oh, this kid looks really young. Let's at least investigate. So that is one thing. But you can get around that by not showing your face. And on a YouTube channel, you can stream, your online game, or maybe you're playing Minecraft and you want to be a streamer and you're 12. You can do that. But if you get caught, your account's going to be banned. But it's just that we have to do more policing of this content. And I know I hate to say that word because that is not my upbringing.
No, but I get it.
We get it.
I get it, though. I do.
mean, couldn't I put up a fake picture if I were a kid anyway, and the AI could make me look older? I mean, we've been messing with AI photos, and it's outrageous. I mean, it's almost good, but not quite. Like, you make us into superheroes, and Mark and I are wearing jeans, and somebody's mouth isn't quite right. But eventually, that's just going to be perfect.
Look, it made me look like I had chest and biceps, so I was thrilled with it. I love AI.
In fact, our marketing director today was playing around with some pictures of a location. We then said, okay, let's put he had a table put there. Then said, okay, let's put a ThrottleNet team member sitting at a chair at the table. Then let's put the logo on the man's shirt. Oh, that logo didn't look so good. Let's change the logo to look more embroidered and go with the shadowing of the shirt. And I mean, by the time he's done, it didn't look like an illustration. It looked like a person took a photograph of a human being sitting at a table in a chair in the sun with shadows and our logo embroidered on their shirt, and it never existed.
This is where you're scaring the hell out of me again.
Is scary.
I'm telling you, it just scares the hell out of me. George, you're always great. You have a great Christmas. Thank you so much for everything this year. ThrottleNet.com if you want to check them out, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, George.
Absolutely.
All right,
Merry
take care.
Christmas.
We'll see
Happy New Year.
Cut of the day coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
That vehicle fire westbound 44 at Highway 50 is on the right side. It's caused a little bit of a delay out there. There was an accident southbound 55 near Lindbergh. Watch for that being moved off to the right shoulder. Accident eastbound 70 east of 270. And we still have just a parking lot jam. Eastbound 40 headed for the Poplar Street Bridge. We had accidents reported in the jam as well. And 55 is also slow in the right lanes headed for the bridge. 55 southbound, there is also an accident south of Broadway causing delays. So it's one of those evenings. And southbound 270, mainly slow pockets from Olive down through Gravois. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. This report is brought to you by Aspen Contracting, roofsbyaspen.com. If your siding is dragging down your home's curb appeal, Aspen Contracting can help. They've got new siding, fast, efficient, built to last. Don't settle for an eyesore. Call Aspen today for your free siding inspection, 636-465-1696. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Thank you, Sue. Let's talk about Ophthalmology Associates. Maybe you are somebody who has a little money in a health savings account, or you've saved some money from your paycheck for health care expenses pre-tax. This is a great opportunity. Make an appointment at Ophthalmology Associates. If you have not had an eye appointment in a while, it's always a great idea to get a regular eye check. Or maybe you're someone who has eye issues like me. I had an eye disease many decades ago, so I'm very careful about making sure I get my eyes checked on an annual basis. I have a little silicone buckle around my right eye, and that changed my vision in that eye because I had an eye disease. That wasn't very common, but everything got taken care of decades ago. But that's why I trust Ophthalmology Associates with my eye care, and you should too. We call them the doctors' doctors because more physicians in St. Louis go to visit Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brasati, and Andrew Royer than any other practice. They have a great office location, very easy to access near 270 in Manchester, and they have a great team. I've said this before, the office experience, I dare anyone to have a better office experience with a physician. It's not the most fun thing to have your eyes poked around in, but they do it the right way at Ophthalmology Associates. Make an appointment today. Check out youridoc.com or call 314-966-5000 for Ophthalmology Associates.
Wishing you a very Merry Christmas.
It's Dana Lash. Thanks to the 97.1 FM Talk listeners for a great 2025. Wishing you and yours a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
From all of us at 97.1 FM Talk.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
No one remembers the tie, the sweater, or the pair of socks they received last year for the holidays, but they will remember the year they learned how to play the piano. Hi, this is Kathy from Lacefield Music, and every year in January, Lacefield Music opens their exciting and innovative 8-week adult piano classes to the public for the incredible price of only $29.99 for all 8 weeks. This class is usually $100, but in January, the classes will be $29.99 for all 8 weeks. With Lacefield Music's adult piano classes, you will learn how to read music, play your favorite songs, and you will play with both your right and your left hand the very first week. This year, instead of buying your loved one more things, buy them an experience and fulfill the dream of learning to play the piano. Class sizes are limited and are filling fast, so call 636-778-2070 for more information or go to lacefieldmusic.com. That's lacefieldmusic.com to sign up.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Sue, there are so many terrible things that happen not only in this country but across the planet. And sometimes when something happens like Bondi Beach and that massacre from Sunday in Sydney, we almost forget about it. We move on very, very quickly here in this country because it doesn't dominate our news coverage, and our president put something on Truth Social, and that dominates the coverage. But this thing was just awful. And you had people just celebrating the first day of Hanukkah where two terrorists show up, father and son, and start opening up fire. Now, we're finding out more information here about some things that happened. And you remember the video of the guy who wrestled the gun from the one terrorist?
Yes.
Well, he's been identified as someone by the name of Ahmed Al-Ahmed, who was also Muslim, by the way, who confronted the suspect and wrestled the gun away from him. But now there's the daughter of one of the victims who is named Sheena Gutnick, who says that her father, 62-year-old Raven Morrison, who was a Soviet-born member of the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community in Australia, was killed because he was trying to stop that gunman too. And apparently on some of the video, and this is what she says, you'll see him the minute that the shots start firing, he's throwing bricks at the terrorists, and he ends up getting shot. I guess that he was seen trying to stop one of the assailants, but then it was Ahmed al-Ahmed who stepped in and wrestled the gun, and he's the one who lived, but her father did not. Now, that brings us to audio cut of the day for this afternoon.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
And I think the Australian government and the media is being called out for not being on top of this anti-Semitism in Australia. Here is an example of that.
Is this what you wanted? Is this enough now? Will you listen to us? Albanese, Wong, will you listen to us? Will you actually do something? Will you actually... don't have to stand up and say anything because we don't believe you anyway. And ABC, I've got to say, will you cut out the biased reporting? Mainstream media, we feel will you cut it out? Will you actually let us have a voice? Because we feel that part of the reason that the Jewish people have experienced such a massive change in Australia towards us. I mean, I'm Aussie. You know? And I'm not a religious Jewish girl, but a woman. But since October the 7th, since all the hatred that's been thrown at us, I started to wear my Magen David because I'm Jewish. And if you have something to say, you can say it to me. And ABC, please stop with the biased reporting.
Hey, that sounds like our country, doesn't it? Too much in common there with Australia. We're back tomorrow at 3. Have a great night.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
If you are headed into Illinois, we still have a massive jam on eastbound 6440 headed for the Poplar Street Bridge. Now an accident reported near 3rd Street on the Illinois side. That is not helping. 55 is jammed back to the 44 split. Still a lot of traffic westbound on 40, and that's just past Kings Highway in pockets on out through the 70 split. 70 a little better if you've got an option, go that way. Eastbound 70, though, an accident east of 270 causing delays. And still a slow go on southbound 270. This is anywhere from Olive down through Gravois. 44 is in pretty good shape now, right around the Bowles area where we had that earlier jam. But I'll tell you what, westbound Manchester, yes, that's right.
That helps me.
It is really jammed at 141. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. This report is brought to you by the fabulous people at the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. They have extra hours during the holiday season, so check their website. That's traffic, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Speaking of fabulous, let me talk about Susan L. Ward, who is a fabulous family practice attorney here in St. Louis. Now, I'm not going to lie. When you call Susan, that probably means you have some tough things that you need to work out and discuss. It could be the end of a marriage, could be things that happen in the aftermath of divorce, and she can help you out with all of that as well. You know, things that are modifications, ending child support, changing child support, grandparent visitation. Some of it really gets very detailed, but they handle all of that at the law offices of Susan L. Ward, LLC. They have a great new office in De Pere. They'd love to have you over. If you have any matter that involves child custody, child support, or family law, and you want to talk to a great family law attorney here in St. Louis, that's Susan and her team. 314-783-9400, the website stlfamilylaw.com, the focus on family law and the emphasis on you. Susan will tell you, too, that this is the time of year where people kind of hold back a little bit heading into the holidays, and then her phone rings off the hook after the first of the year. If you think things are not going well, this is the time to make that call. She would tell you that right away. Don't put it off. stlfamilylaw.com. Susan L. Ward. Check her out. Tell them that we sent you along.
If you suffer from burning, tingling, or numb feet, pay special attention.